Good morning. It's 7 a.m. on Thursday, June 9th. Today in Baton Rouge, expect to see cloudy skies with a high of 93. Coming up on OTB, Bill Bender of the Sporting News joins the show at 7:30, and at 8:30 we talk to Billy Embody of On3 Sports. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at OTB_ESPN, or watch us on YouTube at the 104.5 ESPN channel and subscribe for daily content. Hour number one of Off the Bench, live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, starts now.
Let we go!
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Jacob Hester and T-Bob Hebert.
Yeah!
Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob.
Hey, Peter, they said I got to come off the bench.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob. Yo.
Yo, and welcome into OTB here on a Thursday morning. There's no Tiny Bobby, but there is a Hanny. It's basically hanging with Hester and Hanny here this morning. Charles Hannegriff fills in for the vacationing T-Bob Hebert Hanny man. Glad to have you. How you been?
I'm good, man. I remember this.
Yeah.
We did.
We've done this a time or two before.
Not quite as early for me the last time we did this, but yeah.
That's true. That is incredibly true.
Good to see you guys, man.
Yeah, man. It's glad to have you. Glad to have you back. I know, look, it's never easy when you ask someone to fill in an early morning show. So I appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
Man, I'm happy to be here. This is that time of the year where we start, you wind down the baseball,
Yep.
you start ramping up to, you get your breaks in and start ramping up towards football. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to get some thoughts from you as far as LSU baseball, but let's go across the room. Let's see how the boys are doing. Mario, how's your morning going?
Going well, man. Doing really good. Closer to the weekend.
All right, Danny's already feeling good. He had the mic ready to go. Danny has good vibes. It's pretty much the weekend, I guess, for Danny.
Oh, yeah. Thursday, weekend officially started. Ready to be out here.
All right, and we have got a great show. Mario laid it out for you there. Our guy, Bill Bender, who Haney and I have had on many, many times, he ranked every single head coach from 1 to 131. So we'll have Bill Bender on to break down that list to see where Brian Kelly fell on that list. But as Haney said, baseball has just wrapped up. One of the main reasons I wanted to have Haney on. Love your baseball takes, Haney, and a lot of discussion this week about LSU's season. Was it a success? Was it a failure? Where was it? How do you feel about Jay Johnson? T-Bob and I both agreed that this season, considering what the roster was, what the limitations you had with some of your staff, you felt good about where Jay Johnson is. Not that losing a regional is ever going to be a success for LSU, but you feel good about where Jay Johnson is, considering what he had to work with.
it was a talented, but I would call it a flawed team in that you had a lot of explosive offense. You had a deep and versatile bullpen, but you did not have enough starting pitching, and you were a pretty bad defensive team. So there was the things you did well, you did really well. The things you didn't do well were pretty bad. I made the comment earlier this week that if LSU baseball had been a Major League Baseball team, they would have been active at the trade deadline. They would have moved some bats for some arms. Yeah. But, you of course, can't do that in college baseball. I thought the transition year is always tough because you're recruiting players you're coaching players that you didn't recruit. And, you have to take some time to learn everybody's personalities. You have to take time to learn the strengths and weaknesses of their game. It was a new coaching staff, not just the head coach, but it was, new assistants as well. So I don't necessarily put a label on a successful year. It was a transition year. It could have been better, could have been worse. There were times in March where you looked at it and said, man, they're gonna have to hustle just to get into the tournament. They looked like about a 500 team. You end up finishing 4 games above 500 in the league. You end up finishing with 18 conference wins, and you were an eyelash away from getting to the Super Regional. They want to do better than that. And I think that the transition year served its purpose in that Jay Johnson has a real solid handle on what his roster is, and I expect that roster to look drastically different next year. Yeah. That would have scared me 5 or 6 years ago. I told somebody on Monday or Tuesday, I said, listen, don't try to put together the 2023 roster right now. Right. You'll drive yourself crazy. Now, 5-6 years ago, you had a pretty good idea. But what don't you know now? First of all, transfer portal,
Right.
obviously. NIL is going to shake up this draft, I think. This will be a unique draft in that we always had an idea. If you're a top 5 round pick, you didn't expect to see those kids at school.
Right.
You might get 1 or 2 tops. Round 6 through 10, you got maybe 10% of those guys in, 10, 15%. I'm talking about nationwide.
Right.
And then if it was around 11 back, you had a pretty good chance to sign them. Now, if you look at the NIL dollars, well, there's a real compelling argument to make that as high as the 3rd round, the NIL dollars, when you think about all the other things that you can get, your housing, your coaching, your exposure, your education, all of those things, plus cash, okay, that you got a fair fight maybe all the way up as high as the 3rd round now. So what you think you know about the draft, you may not know. And I think it's going to be fascinating to see how that plays out. I just watched a basketball coach go from 0 scholarship players to a potential NCAA tournament team in about a month.
Yeah.
I just watched a football coach turn over half his roster in about 3 months. So if you're going to tell me the baseball coach is going to turn over maybe 2/3 of this roster 5 years ago, that would have scared me. It no longer does because there's tools at their disposal to take care of that.
Yeah, and they're going to have some tough conversations with guys that were on the roster this year, and they were holdovers from Paul Maneri, and Jay Johnson's going to have those conversations because of what you just laid out. Because we know LSU has the #1 recruiting class, and you're going to get more of those players on campus, and my belief, because of the things, again, you laid out with the NIL deals, than you ever would have before. Now, you're not going to get all of them. There's some guys that are top-tier talents. I mean, they are highly, highly rated as far as top 50 players in this next year's draft, but you do have the opportunity now because you can sell NIL. You can sell, hey, do you want to be stuck on a bus for 3 years, or do you want to come here, play at LSU, get all the amenities that we're going to be able to give you, and you're going to have a quicker path to the MLBs because now you're seeing the MLB really value college players over the high school player like we've never really seen before.
Here's something else. During the COVID year, Major League Baseball eliminated, I think it was 42 minor league teams, okay? And they are now embracing more than they ever have before college baseball as a training ground. They like it because it's free, okay? The slot pick at the top of the 4th round is $571,000 this year. Sounds like a lot of money, and it is.
Yeah.
But once you take out, you know about all this, Jake, once you take out your taxes on a signing bonus and once you take out your agent fees on a signing bonus, that number decreases pretty significantly. So let's say, you're coming in it's somewhere in the $300,000 range. Still a bunch of money, okay? But let's say you get a 3-year NIL deal in college, and not necessarily at LSU, anywhere. You get a 3-year NIL deal at college for a top 5 round pick, and you can recoup half, 2/3, maybe all of it. If you're really, really good, you go to some booster and say, listen, we need an NIL deal for this kid, or he's going to go to the White Sox in the 4th round, but we can get him here for $250,000. Well, for guys that have got money to burn and are big fans,
and LSU's one of the places that's going to have somebody that's willing to give that NIL deal. Not everybody has that situation, but as we know, LSU, Baton Rouge, you will.
Where they lost all the kids, in the past in college baseball was, I'm going to school, I'm going to school, I'm going to school, and then they hand you a check for $300,000 cash. Take it to the bank, put it in, and it's yours. Well, now, and the colleges will say, listen, just wait 3 years and you'll make more money. And some of those guys did. The Kevin Gosmans of the world, turned down 7 figures. Yeah. But it's hard, okay? I mean, think about anybody in life. Somebody hands you a check with your name on it. Go put it in the bank right now. No, I'm going to hand it back because 3 years now it's going to be bigger. It's hard to do. Now think about it. Hand you a $300,000 check from the White Sox. But the college is going to give you, over the next 3 years, that close to that same amount of money, or 2/3 of that amount of money, and all your housing, all of your food. You're paying it better facilities. Yeah. You're going to get better medical care. You're going to get better coaching. You're going to get more exposure. When was the last time you watched a minor league baseball game on TV? Or have you ever watched a minor league baseball game on TV?
Pensacola Blue Wahoos. I don't know.
Okay.
When the CST used to play the replay here in the studio.
Almost never. Okay. Well, every college baseball game now is on some kind of in the major.
You can find it
in the major conferences. Yes,
Absolutely.
you can find it. On,
even the Southland Conference, like on ESPN Plus, you can pull up Southeastern versus Northwestern State like that now.
If you get drafted by the White Sox and they hand you the check, and you got to pay your agent, you got to pay your taxes, and then
I can talk about that.
They send you to Denham Springs, Iowa, where you know nobody,
right.
where you're living in an apartment with 3 guys that are from Oregon, Connecticut, and Georgia, and you're playing in front of 15 people, and everybody that's in a Class A minor league baseball park has one thing on their mind: how can I get out of here?
Yeah,
every single player, every coach, every trainer, every groundskeeper, every umpire, every PA announcer, every radio announcer, if they're on the radio, every one of them wants to move up. You get to college baseball, and this is a destination for a lot of people. It's like, man, I'm playing in front of 10,000 people tonight. These kids that are going to play in these super regionals this weekend are going to play in front of packed houses. Every game's going to be on ESPN. You got a chance to go to Omaha, and you got the cash now.
Yeah,
it's
that's a big
now
part.
the first couple of rounds, okay, it's still 7 figures, and those kids are going to go. And look, I'm not going to begrudge any kid who gets handed a check for life-changing money to go pro. But there's a lot more kids that are going to have a decision to make. Like, oh, wait, the cash, okay? Yeah. You got the cash now. That means something.
Absolutely, it does. And what you also have, everybody I've talked to, no matter who it is, it'd be a Ben McDonald, Tall Walker, whoever we've had on. You start talking to them, and I've talked to some MLB scouts. They value a guy that's playing in the SEC now more than they ever have as far as what they're looking for. It used to be, and you know this better than I do, Hanny, it used to be, okay, I want the guy that has the ceiling's the highest, the 18-year-old who's a 5-tool player. At least we project him to be the 5-tool player, but we've only seen him go against Dutchtown. We've never seen him go against, talent that was above the high school level. Yeah, we've gone to some showcases and different things, but that was a weekend. That wasn't a full season. Well, they value now, okay, well, the guy that you're facing on Friday and Saturday, you're probably going to be facing that guy in the big leagues on Friday and Saturday. It's going to be the same guy a lot of the time. And also, you're not spending 6 years in the minor leagues.
No.
Now you're spending 3 years in the minor leagues, maybe 2 years in some cases if you played high-level college baseball. They have more on you because they've seen you against talent that's similar to what you're going to face. And no disrespect to any high school baseball players, but not a guy throwing 86. You're facing guys throwing 96 now every single time you go out there in the weekend, and they're valuing that because it's a quicker path to the big leagues. And the ceiling might not be exactly the same. You might not have the next Mike Trout, but what you have is somebody that you kind of know who he is before he gets there.
And for so long, the relationship between Major League Baseball and college baseball was pretty contentious. Okay, they felt like arms were abused, and that still happens a little bit.
Yeah,
they felt like the coaching was inferior. They wanted guys in their system, and then you look at it now, and it's like, wait a minute, we need to cut costs somewhere. Where we're going to cut it? We're going to cut it at the minor league level. We're going to let the colleges take care of a lot of our training ground. The NFL figured this out a long time ago.
That's right.
Why isn't there a minor league for football? Well, we'd have to pay for it. Why not let the LSUs and Ohio States of the world pay for it? Even the NBA, they'd let kids go. Kids would go overseas, and they had the CBA and the G League, but those weren't big expense. Baseball, it's an expensive sport.
Yeah.
Now they're saying, well, listen, the level of college play has increased so dramatically. The coaching has increased so dramatically that we can use this as a real training ground. And you've seen this ramp up over the last 10, 12, 15 years, more and more players being drafted out of the colleges than drafted out of the high schools. It used to drive me crazy with some of the scouts who would just automatically take the 18-year-old over the 20-year-old because the 20-year-old had gone to college for 2 or 3 years, and they would say, well, he's a college guy. He's old. We still got to put him in our system for 3 years. We got to reteach him everything. Well, those biases are long in our rearview mirror now.
I just remember that when I was out in San Diego, the Padres drafted a guy. His name was, I think it was Donovan Tate, and they drafted him 3rd overall. And I felt bad for the kid. He was 18 years old. They draft him, and he's like at the Chargers practice. He's out there. like he's got a Padres jersey on. He's trying to talk to all of us. He goes to the Padres games, throwing out the first pitch and all this. And I'm just sitting there thinking, man, this guy's 18 years old, and he's being run out here talking, I see him out there talking with 30-year-olds. He's out here throwing the first pitch, and there's so much pressure on this 18-year-old. And, of course, I mean, no disrespect to the guy. He never made it. He ended up actually playing football at Arizona after baseball flaked out for him. And it was just like, man, that is so much pressure for a 17, 18-year-old to be the third overall pick. He's throwing the first pitch out this major league ballpark. He's at the NFL practice trying to talk to Phillip Rivers and all these different guys. And that's just when you're 18 compared to when you're 22. I know it's only 4 short years, but even maturity-wise and being able to handle failure, because baseball is a game of failure. You're going to fail. Being able to handle that in the minor leagues as well. Maybe you're working on something. Maybe you're trying to figure something out. That 22-year-old is going to be able to handle it better.
You got to be a grown-up in a hurry.
Yeah.
Just a few weeks after you graduate from high school. And you say, well, all kids got to be a grown-up in a hurry. No, you go to college and there's a built-in support system, okay? They're going to make sure that, certain things are done. Like I said, they send you to some small town in Iowa or Oregon or wherever, and you're living with 3 other teenagers probably, and you got your signing bonus, okay? And if you're smart enough not to fitter that away, it'll always be there. But what do? They go buy a car, they go buy some jewelry, and they start spending money on things that you probably shouldn't be spending money on it at that age. And all of a sudden, it's happened so many times. When you get to 22, you never went to school. You're on your way out of baseball. A lot of the money is gone. Hopefully, all of the money's not gone. Now, listen, there are a lot of success stories too of kids that straight out of high school went into Chipper Jones, who you know. Okay, no, but Chipper Jones was the #1 pick in the draft.
Yeah.
That's why whenever we were doing a podcast earlier this week, and it was talking about, well, what about Dylan Cruz? I said, I don't want to talk about Dylan Cruz. Dylan Cruz is one of one.
Yeah.
All right. He's going to probably be the first pick in the draft next year. Dylan Cruz is an outlier. How many other Dylan Cruzes are out there? Dylan Cruz doesn't have a decision to make. Dylan Cruz is going to be, the best player in the draft next year. What about all the other guys? What about guys number 100 through 500? They have a much different decision to make than Dylan Cruz. Dylan Cruz did this absolutely correctly, but he's Dylan Cruz.
Yeah.
Okay. What if you're not Dylan Cruz? Then the decision's a lot harder.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, we will get ready to take our first break of the show. Again, we've got Bill Bender of the Sporting News set to join us in about 13 minutes from now. He ranked every single FBS coach all the way from 131 all the way down to 1. We'll have some of that list for you as well when we come back. OTB.
Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria, and 1130 The Tiger.
You go to All-Star Toyota of BatonRouge.com, All-Star Toyota of BatonRouge.com. We tell you there's 3 things you can do: buy, lease, and rent. And when you go do those 3 things, you're going to have the full fleet available in every one of those, right? T-Bob's certainly taking advantage of buying the vehicle. We've both taken advantage of leasing the vehicle. I'm currently in the Highlander right now. Family of 6, midsize SUV is still plenty of room for us. So we have multiple options over at All-Star. We got the 4Runner, we can do the Highlander. If we need something a little bit bigger, we can go Sequoia, you can go Sienna minivan. It's not just one option. It's always going to be multiple options over at All-Star. Same thing in the rental process. If you've got the trip coming up, summertime, we all know that you're fully in summer. Everyone's out of school now. So you got the vacation, you got more luggage than normal. If you've got the tournament, if you got softball, volleyball, whatever it might be, you got some extra equipment, maybe an extra passenger with you, you need something bigger, they've got you covered. Go rent today, All-Star Toyota of BatonRouge.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Service Master Elite create.
For a Thursday edition of Hunt and Hill, Tall Paul Gervais will join us from the road, looking back on his year in Baton Rouge and what's next for the big right-hander. Join us Thursday, noon to 2, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob, the 2022 LAB Prestige Award winner for Best Sports Radio Show. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria, and 1130 The Tiger.
All right, welcome back into OTB. Andy, real quick to finish up some of our conversation from the first block there of players LSU that played on the team last year, not the guys that they've signed in this class, that are going to go to the draft that you're going to feel. Jacob Berry, K. Doty?
Yes. Berry will be a first-round pick.
Yeah.
Doty will be a high pick. I don't know that he's going in the first round for sure. I think he's probably top 75, something like that, 80, somewhere in that area. So, yeah, they'll be very high picks. Berry got I thought Berry improved his draft stock, which was already first round when he got here. His defense was awful early in the season. He got better. You know how you can look at guys in basketball, you can see that, man, this guy's been working on his shot.
Yeah.
You know, like we watched Herb Jones last
Yeah.
year, for the Pelicans was a good example. As, a guy that in November and December was reluctant to take a shot, and by March it was like, hey, listen, he's not the primary scorer, but this guy can knock it down. Berry, at the beginning of the season, like, please don't hit it to him. And then by the end of the season, it was, that hot shot in the Super Regional final game where they had the around the horn double play.
Yeah.
He doesn't make that play in February. And you can tell that the young man put a lot of work into it. Early in the season, they were sort of, I don't want to say hiding him in right field, but they were putting him in right field because he was really, really struggling at third.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the season, he's making plays on hot shots like that and turning two. Really, really impressive to me, the amount of work that it was obvious that he had put in to work on the part of his game that needed the most. Now, everyone knows he can hit.
Right.
I mean, so I thought that I would feel a lot better about Jacob Berry if I were drafting him now than I would have drafted him in February. And in February, I would have drafted him in the first round. So I thought that was a big jump for him defensively.
Yeah, there's definitely two losses that you're going to feel, but they're both going to be guys that get drafted extremely high, and I fully expect both those guys to have a big league career. It's still amazing you got another year of Cruz and Morgan.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like because they've been the guys since day one. It feels like we've gotten 5 years out of them. It's only been 2 years, and you still have another year. Thank goodness they were born when they were.
Well, born when they were, and also as lousy as COVID was in so many ways, it might have gotten Dylan Cruz here. If it was a normal year in 20, Dylan Cruz probably gets an offer he can't refuse, and it worked out for him. It worked out for LSU, and I think next year is going to be just one of the real special years that a baseball player can have at LSU. Dylan Cruz is set to have. Trey Morgan, it really pained me to watch him, with the brace this year. Yeah, I mean, give the kid credit for gutting it out. But there was a play in the Super Regional where, and I felt bad for the announcers having to call a baseball game remotely is tough. I mean, ESPN needs to quit saving money in that particular genre. Basketball, okay. Football, okay. Baseball, how are you supposed to be able to judge? And Morgan hit a shot in the first inning of the last game that was a gapper, and this is a double 11 times out of 10 if Trey Morgan doesn't have the brace on his knee. And the announcer who watches, he can only see the ball, he can't see the runner, says that's a double because it was a double off the bat, except Morgan can't run. Yeah. And so when they finally get back to the other shot, you see, after the announcer said twice that, hey, that's a double, there's Morgan on first base because he can't run.
Right.
I'm hoping that, he gets that. I'm sure whatever that they need to do, whether it's rest or it's some kind of procedure, whatever he needs to do, he comes back fully healthy, and you see, the true potential. Because he was a terrific player kind of on one leg this year.
Yeah.
And
he's still batted well over 300.
Yeah.
I know the splits, lefty, righty, but come on.
Right, and how many extra bases was he denied this year because he can't run?
Couldn't steal either.
I don't think
he stole bags. No, he didn't have a single one. He stole bags his freshman year.
Yeah, how many plays like that in the Super Regional were surefire doubles that ended up having to be singles? How many defensive plays? We saw the guy his freshman year make some of the most outlandish plays at first base, and how many of those was he not able to make? So, for Trey Morgan, I think he comes back next year and completely healthy, it'd be something to see.
I did see him and Dylan Cruz both got selected for Team USA. I wonder if Trey Morgan, although one of the greatest honors you can have, like you've heard me say this before. I played like the one sport you can't play for your country, and I hate it because I'd love to represent Team USA. But he probably needs to rest if he can, or at least like take it easy or something, because he just was not right.
Yeah, I don't know what the offseason plan for him is. Is it rest? Is it some kind of procedure? I don't know. The nature of the injury is a little bit vague. It was something he could play through.
If he can play through it, it's nothing torn as far as a ligament. It's probably more, you would think, maybe a meniscus.
They never went into a lot of detail. They never went into a lot of detail about it. So if he's due for some kind of procedure, surgery, okay. If it's something where just, stay off of this thing for a certain amount of time, I'm sure they'll, do whatever's best for him.
I can recommend don't have meniscus surgery and then play in the Sugar Bowl 8 days later. It's not a good recipe after the game. 8 days.
Wow.
It was like, okay, it's a Sugar Bowl. We all know what the Superdome means if you're from Louisiana. I mean, in high school, you break it down on 1, 2, 3 dome. And I grew up Irish Catholic, and you're playing Notre Dame. You can't miss that. Although my knee was the size of my head.
I was about to say, what happened if you wouldn't have had the surgery? You couldn't have played?
I couldn't. Oh, no.
Okay.
We were at the banquet. You had the banquet before the bowl game, and I'm looking at Dr. Bankston, and we duct tape and super glue all season long. I'm like, hey, I got to do something here. He's like, well, do you want to play? I said, I do. He goes, okay, well, I'll get in, I'll get out. I'm not going to spend a lot of time in there.
You guys managed to keep that pretty quiet, because I don't remember us talking a whole lot about is Hester going to play in the Sugar Bowl.
Oh, we did.
Okay, that's good.
We did.
It's like Stalag 17 over there, just this iron curtain when Les decided nobody could know anything.
Oh, no doubt about it. You know how that went. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to have my guy Bill Bender from the Sporting News again. I don't know how he does it every single year. They've added coaches. You got new teams in the FBS, but he has ranked every single coach from poor Ken Wilson at 131 at Nevada all the way down to number one. You probably guess who number one is on this list. We'll have Bill for you here on OTB when we come back.
Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Come on over to Corval Toyota to pre-order your next vehicle. It's an easy and stress-free process. Browse, reserve, pick up, and enjoy. It's that simple. So come on down to Happy Town. That's Corval Toyota in Opelousas, Happy Town, USA.
Dad!
Kids have staked out their place at Ochsner Medical Complex The Grove, where more than 30 pediatricians and pediatric specialists are all conveniently located under one roof, so you can spend less time driving and more time keeping your kids well.
Yes!
It's no wonder kids call dibs at The Grove. Ochsner Health Center for Children.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli? I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
And this year, 2022, it's time to finally treat yourself. Bring your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service. You want the latest and greatest marine technology? You want to go to the place that has not one, but two NMEA-certified techs. Family-owned and operated by the Sherman family for 30 years, front-to-back is the answer in Baton Rouge for all of your custom boat needs. So head to fronttobackboatservice.com or find them on Facebook, Front to Back Boat Service.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
ESPN and Guarantee Media bring you Drop Biscuit Studios. It's a southern home for storytellers. Visit dropbiscuit.com today and check out the trailer to our first original series, Pops, the Louis Armstrong story, starring Reno Wilson. Subscribe today. All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Esther and T-Bob. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria, and 1130 The Tiger.
All right, welcome back in Off the Bench here on a Thursday morning. My man Charles Handegriff filling in for the forever vacationing T-Bob Abear. We're going to go to a guy that Haney and I have talked to a lot. Love having Bill Bender of the Sporting News on. Bill, how you doing this morning? Glad to have you back on.
Hey, good morning. How are you guys?
Doing well, and man, I don't know how you do it every single year. I start thinking about you around this time. I know that the coaching, like basically tier list is coming out, and you rank them from 131 all the way down to 1. So before we get into it, I've got to ask you this. 131's harder than 1, right?
Yeah, because you know that what if that coach goes on to be like the next Bear Bryant, right? And then you're like, we're the guys that had him at 131. No, I mean, I enjoy doing it every year. I have a spreadsheet that I've used to like kind of track it, and
right.
You know, I think the first debate really started with Kirby and Dabo, and if you were listening to Feinbaum the other day, he certainly got on me about it, but we had some fun with it.
If Ken Wilson from Nevada, who you've got at 131, if you call him for an interview, I think the first thing he's saying, I'm last, huh? Right? That's the first thing you get to hear. All right, let's say for a moment, Bill, that I am a fan of the University of Texas. Since Mac Brown left in 2013, I'm on my third coach. I've got one of the top athletic budgets in the country, and I'm about to go into the Southeastern Conference, and I went out and hired the 41st best coach in the country, Steve Sarkisian at 41?
Yeah, I mean, he was tough to rank because they probably could have gone lower.
I think you're right, by the way. I think you're right, by the way. I'm just if I'm a Texas fan, I'm like, wait, I'm running off 3 guys and I'm still stuck at 41.
Well, that's why it's such a big year for them. There is a little bit of, I don't want to say hype around the Longhorns because there's always hype around the Longhorns, but with Quinn Ewers, if he ends up playing quarterback, there's going to be some fascination with that. And, they did score a ton of points last year. They're a team that can score 40 points, but they're also a team that couldn't stop Kansas. So I think this is a big year for them. And I saw in one poll, I can't remember which one, that they're favored to win the Big 12.
And that always amazes me, Bill. It's like, every single year, I feel like for the last 10 years, we've had a group of teams that we're just waiting and assuming that in USC, Texas, Miami, Florida State at times, I think all those teams kind of fall into that category. But actually, it leads me to my next coach that I wanted to talk about on this list because I think they are going to win the Big 12. It's someone who last year, when this list was released, was 72nd. Now he's moved all the way up to 19, someone we know very well here in Baton Rouge, and that is Dave Aranda. The job that Dave Aranda has done, he's 14-9 overall there at Baylor. The pandemic year was tough for them, but last year they came back, and I think they showed you who they're going to be under Dave Aranda. Now, I realize that Baylor's not Texas or Oklahoma or some of the other teams in the Big 12 as far as sexy names. This Baylor program, this Baylor team led by Dave Aranda, he made the huge jump from 72nd to 19. And yesterday, EJ and I were talking about this list. I think next year when you have this list, he'll be in your top 10. I think Baylor right now is a team that's undervalued as far as being talked about within their own conference.
Wouldn't surprise me if he was in the top 10. He's a guy that has taken Baylor in 2 short years, and I think the strength was with Grimes as the offensive coordinator, their offensive and defensive line. I mean, this year they have 5 offensive linemen that are, I believe, seniors. So, I mean, you'd be pretty good with that. And Baylor's also among those Big 12 favorites. I think he's a guy that when he was the defensive coordinator at LSU, we were always kind of pushing him out the door as a head coach and not really sure how it would go. But it's obviously been a hit so far.
Bill Bender is our guest. Bill, I wanted to ask you about a coach that for years and years and years came up every time there was a big job opening, every time there was an NFL job opening, everybody just, this guy's a really, really good coach, and he's not going to be where he is for very much longer. And 10 years later, David Shaw is still at Stanford. Now, that's by his choice. He certainly had opportunities to move on. Did he miss his window? Is he just a Stanford lifer now? Because this was one of the hottest names in college football for a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while since they've won a Pac-12 championship, too. and they've slid a little bit in the standings the last couple of years. It's going to be interesting to see how they account for and deal with NIL, and how that maybe helps or hurts the program. But, I mean, it's the same school, though. They did have McCaffrey a few years ago, so it's not like they've been irrelevant. But he falls in that Pat Fitzgerald and previous Duke coach David Cutcliffe's class, where it's hard to rank those guys because you know the expectation at those programs. But at the same time, once they have success, you expect them to continue to have success.
And as we stay out west, another Pac-12 coach, and we kind of get into the top 10 a little bit here. Lincoln Riley comes in at number 7 last year. He was number 3. I kind of agree with you here. A couple of spots back, I just think that what he had at Oklahoma is a well-oiled machine, and we have to see now. It's the wait-and-see game at USC. We think that they're going to be better. This is a bad football team last year, Bill. They have new pieces, undoubtedly. I understand that, but we have to see how that comes together. He's 55-10 as a lifetime coach. He's never lost more than 2 games in a season. All of that is highly impressive, but he didn't get it done in the CFP. Now, he's had some comments. He had some with Dennis Dodd the other day talking about his roster was always the 4th best in the CFP, kind of throwing Oklahoma under the bus a little bit there. What do we think in year 1 that Lincoln Riley can really do? Do we think that the roster is going to be better than what he had at Norman, which had a lot of Jimmys and Joes on it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it was a bad roster at Oklahoma. It was good enough to win the Big 12 every year. I do think from a skill position standpoint, it's going to resemble the same thing. He's going to have as good a trio as anybody in the country between Caleb Williams, Jordan Addison, and Travis Dye, who I think that was the most underrated pickup that they got because he led Oregon in rushing yards last year. So, but do they have it in the trenches? That's where they always get beat by the SEC schools at Oklahoma. They get beat up front. I mean, you watched the LSU game a few years ago. That their defensive line, not to mention Joe Burrow was thrown against there, but the defensive line was dominant the entire game.
Bill, you ranked Mack Brown number 15 at North Carolina, and I'm wondering, are you ranking him based on what he did at North Carolina the last 3 years, or is this going back? How much did you take into account that long, successful run at Texas, or are you just ranking him based on what he's done at UNC?
Well, we do both. We rank him on career accomplishments, try to balance that with, like, last year, 3 years ago, everything that comes with that. And then sometimes we just get into the barstool arguments. I thought, obviously, North Carolina had not a great year last year. I wouldn't call it a total embarrassment. They got to a bowl game, but I think they were a team that he's turned around, and it'll be a big year for them because now that you're in year 4, you're expecting to maybe get in the ACC championship in that wide open Coastal.
All right, obviously kind of buried the lead here. We're in Baton Rouge. Let's talk about the LSU coach, Brian Kelly, where he comes in on this list. He comes in at number 6. Last year he was number 4, so kind of in the same territory that he was a year ago. We know the record, 145-61 as a head coach. Notre Dame's all-time winningest coach. Left South Bend, came down to the Bayou here in Baton Rouge to coach the LSU Tigers. He's mentioned it multiple times. The last 3 coaches there have won national championships. That's why he is here, to win a national championship. Year 1, completely new rosters, had to build it through the transfer portal. But what do you think from the outside looking in, being in Ohio, looking down here in the SEC at LSU, what do you think year 1 under Brian Kelly?
Well, he'll have talent, and as we've pointed out, he can coach. And I'll start with the quarterback position, where he was very fickle with that at Notre Dame. You wonder if he's going to play multiple players at that position. But obviously LSU has skill position talent, a roster that's capable of producing a ton of NFL talent even after a down year like last year. So, I've told people this over and over again. I don't care what accent he fakes. I don't care what he does in his recruiting videos. I know he can coach football, and I think he's going to do pretty good down there at LSU. I don't fake my accent to you either, Jacob. This is a honest Southeast Ohio accent. I get it honest.
Absolutely.
Bill, you got Luke Fickell from Cincinnati at number 5. My question on him is, with that team going into the Big 12, can Luke Fickell be long-term at Cincinnati? Is he approaching the point where he's unpoachable for all but a handful of jobs? Because he's been a hot name now for quite a while, but there's no longer going to be the stigma that he's not at a Power 5 school as soon as Cincinnati gets in the Big 12. Is he going to settle in there, or is he still going to be on every one of these lists every year?
I mean, I'd take a ton of money because he didn't go to Michigan State and he didn't, Marcus Freeman went to Notre Dame. Luke Fickell didn't. He's not taking that job given the ties he has to the Catholic schools here in Ohio. I don't know that he's going anywhere. And you know what? It's good for Cincinnati. He was not only able to send a bunch of guys to the NFL, you look at their recruiting right now, he's building a really good class coming up. So he'll have them ready for the Big 12. And I think just me as a guy that's lived around Ohio my whole life, it's kind of cool to see a second school other than – I mean, I'm not saying – I'm not being an Ohio State hater, but it's nice to see a second school in Ohio rise up a little bit. So it's really cool to see.
I'll also say the jobs that were open this offseason, and we know the – I mean, Notre Dame became open because Brian Kelly – I mean, LSU was open at the time, Florida, USC, some true blue bloods. And some of the places that we always heard Luke Fickell would take a look at. And the fact that he stayed at Cincinnati this year, that tells you how committed he is, doesn't it?
Yeah, and, it's obviously a good thing. I mean, because, like I said, Notre Dame, that was the supposed dream job. And, by the way, they've got a pretty cool coach that we're keeping an eye on, and Marcus Freeman, who's just on fire in recruiting. And there's always been that question of whether Notre Dame could recruit like a national championship team. I think they're going to be able to under him. And that's going to be great for college football, Jacob, because people hate Notre Dame. They either love them or hate them. And when they're good, it's great for college. Yeah. They are the one school, when they are good, it's really good for college football.
All right, last one before we let you go. Bill Bender of the Sporting News is our guest here on OTB. Kirby Smart 3, Dabo number 2. You mentioned Paul Feinbaum. Got on you a little bit. If you need me to take care of Paul, just let me know, Bill. What did he tell you? What was his argument? I've got to know. Because, look, I understand Dabo's got more titles than Kirby right now.
Well, he used the phrase Dabo's yesterday's news. And by the way, I love Paul. I love arguing with him because anytime you go on a show, it's great exposure and all those kind of things. He's a wonderful person. But we got into it a little bit, and he said, and he has a point. Like, that was one of the toughest ones to rank because if you want to talk about the program probably in better position to win national championships now, the answer is Georgia. But I do this with my buddies that say LeBron's better than MJ. I just do the ring counting. And at the end of the day, 2 is still bigger than 1.
Hey, you can't argue with that. Can't argue with Bill Bender and the job that he's done with this list. 131 all the way down to number 1. Great job every single year. Bill, we appreciate you hopping on with us this morning.
Hey, you guys are the best. Thanks so much for having me on. Take care.
All right, again, Bill Bender of the Sporting News was a staple with Hanny and I during our show during football season.
I just wonder, when he sat down for the 3-hour interview with Saban, because Saban just loves these lists. This is like his favorite thing if he gave any indication about when he might retire.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sure Saban, he just absolutely loves these things. These are his favorite thing to do.
I know. Hanny, I can tell you, and this isn't going to be music to a lot of people's ears. I had a long conversation with Coach Saban down in Destin. His mind and the memory that he can have, like, it's incredible. He was telling recruiting stories of Antonio Gates at Michigan State and when he recruited him, and he was telling the story of Matt Mock and when he called him, to come back from playing baseball. He was telling the story of when he recruited me and remembered every name of the coach that was there and the player that he was sent there to watch that he didn't offer that day. It was pretty incredible.
That's what he should do. He should retire and tell stories.
Tell stories, whole court.
Yes, absolutely. Get on the banquet circuit.
There was an LSU.
Relax, Nick. Enjoy your success, man. Enjoy retirement.
There was a young LSU fan that apparently offered him $5,000 to retire. I don't think 5,000 is going to get the job done, but I appreciate the effort.
I'll kick in some money. I mean,
pass the plate.
Yes.
Pass the plate. All right, we'll take a break. More OTB on the other side.
Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob.
DawsonvilleGlassandBody.com. Been doing it since 1977 out there in Deville. No matter what you've got going on with your vehicle, the smallest thing like an oil change, maybe you need a windshield repair, maybe you got a chip in your windshield, maybe you need a brand new windshield. It really doesn't matter what it is. They can handle all the small things, tire rotations, new tires. they can handle the biggest problem as well, no matter what you've got going on with your vehicle. We always talk about the collision repair. You know, paint and body, best in the state. We always say that because we believe that. We can say it with our chest out. They've helped me. They've helped T-Bob. And again, I wasn't on the show yet, and they were transparent with me. They worked with me. It's not because I'm doing live reads for them. It's because that's what everyone gets. In fact, they came from Donaldsonville, picked up my car in Baton Rouge before I could get home from the studio after they found out I had a problem and couldn't get to Donaldsonville. It's just the kind of service you're going to get. Check them out online, DonaldsonvilleGlassandBody.com, DGBAuto.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
If you're in an accident, a car accident, a slip and fall where you're injured, you need to call an attorney. The defendant insurance company, it's their goal to close the case as quickly as possible and pay out the least amount of money as possible. That's why it's important to call an attorney and call the law offices of O.C. Brown.
At the law office of O.C. Brown, we're a family-owned firm. We want to be your law firm for a lifetime.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
Call Mr. Electric
for a Thursday edition of Early Line as we recap Game 3 of the NBA Finals between the Celtics and the Warriors, and we look ahead to the NCAA Baseball Super Regionals. Early Line, 2 to 3 p.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria, and 1130 The Tiger.
All right, welcome back in. Off the Bench, sitting in for the vacationing T-Bob Baby. Again, my man Charles Hannegriff. Appreciate Bill Bender for jumping on with us and going through his list. And we're going to react to most of the list when we come back in hour number 2. Short segment here. I always get on T-Bob for poor clock management, but again, we were both molded by Les Miles. You cannot get mad at us for poor clock management, just the way that it's going to be, Hanny. My man Mark Stoops, by the way, though, to pick out one name real quick, he moved up from 23rd to 14th. You know, I'm president of the Mark Stoops fan club.
I didn't know that. Truth, as much as I can tell it, when Arkansas hired Sam Pittman, I didn't say, you know what, 2 years in, he's going to be a top 25 coach.
Yeah.
And
he gets $6 million a year.
He's earned it.
Yeah.
I mean, think about where they were when he was hired, and it was about as low fanfare a hire as you can get in the Southeastern Conference. And 2 years later, it's like, hey, they love that guy, and he's done a nice job.
When he took over for Arkansas was 1-23 in SEC play in the 3 seasons before he got there. Them being 500 in the league last year, you tip your cap to him. 500 is not what you always want to get to. I understand that. But when you're 1-23 the 3 years before you get there, he's 12-11 overall. And, oh, yes, he was the Texas state champion last year, beating Texas and Texas A&M in the same season. Sam Pittman gets $6 million a year with his new extension. We'll break down some of this list. We've got Billy Embody still set to join us as well. We'll be back. OTB.
Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob.
All right, go to patientplusuc.com. That's patientplusuc.com. Once you go there, you're going to find a location in the Baton Rouge area that's convenient for you, because they are all about convenience over at Patient Plus. It is quality care for life's little unexpected moments, right? Because when things like this happen, they always happen at the most inconvenient time. That's why they try to be the most convenient thing possible for you, and they always are for me. I tell you the story all the time. Like, I've got 4 boys, and things happen. Stitches, they certainly happen. And my youngest son goes over the handlebars one night. It's about 6:30. We're about to have dinner. We take him to the Patient Plus there in South Downs. We're back at our table having dinner by like 7:45. Like, you're in, you're out. That's why they can say get in and get better, because they are set up for success. They are ready for you. They know that it's not convenient for you. That's why they make it as convenient as possible. Check it out online, patientplusuc.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
It's no secret, the best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Good morning. It's 8 a.m. on Thursday, June 9th. Today in Baton Rouge, expect to see cloudy skies with a high of 93. If you missed hour 1 of the show, you can now catch that up at the on-demand section at 1045ESPN.com. Coming up on OTB, we talk to Billy Embody of On 3 Sports at 8:30, and Chef Michael Johnson joins us at 9:30 for Munchies. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at OTB_ESPN, or watch us on YouTube at the 1045 ESPN channel and subscribe for daily content. Hour number 2 of Off the Bench, live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, starts now.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Jacob Hester and T-Bob Hebert.
Yeah.
Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob.
Hey, P, they said I got to come off the bench.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob. Yo.
Yo, welcome into hour number 2 of Off the Bench. My man Haney, wherever he's at, he went somewhere. There comes Haney right around the corner. That looked like a relay team right there, Haney.
On call.
Haney filling in for, again, the vacationing T-Bob Hebert. We just talked about this list from Sporting News with Bill Bender. I wanted to quickly get a couple of thoughts from you, Haney. I don't know if there was anything that really stood out to you. There's a couple of names that we kind of mentioned. Obviously, we're talking about Brian Kelly. And when you start looking at the new coaches, obviously, like where Brian Kelly is as far as new coaches in new places, he's the top one. He is the guy that changed positions, went to a new school that has the highest ranking here. He's a spot ahead of Lincoln Riley. He's ahead of Billy Napier at Florida, who's, I believe, in the 20s. And so of the new coaches, and again, there was blue blood places that were open, Brian Kelly gets the top nod there.
Yeah, he's done it at multiple places, so I think that's why. And I think that's
great point.
I think that's legitimate. I think it was much tougher to rank the coaches that were going into big time programs that, are completely new. Like, where do you put Brent Venables? This is the Oklahoma coach now, okay? And he's behind Tom Allen, the Indiana coach. Now,
that's fair.
I don't know a thing about Brent Venables as a head coach. I know a little bit about Tom Allen as a head coach, but I'll bet you Oklahoma has a better year than Indiana. Dan Lanning at Oregon is another one. And, of course, Marcus Freeman, which we brought up at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Very difficult to put these guys. Where do you put them on a list? The other thing that struck me, some of the names that were the hottest names in college football not very long ago. Chip Kelly in the 30s. Hugh Freeze at number 50. Even Gus Malzahn, who was a pretty hot name at one time, at 45. I guess it just goes to show you never completely know. You can take a good shot. Would you have – the day Sam Pittman was hired, okay, just to bring that name up again, if I tell you you could have Sam Pittman or Chip Kelly, how many people would you say – Give us Pittman,
right?
Or him or Gus Malzahn, or him or Hugh Freeze,
or Mike Leach even.
Yeah, and yet those really hot names. I asked him about David Shaw. Shaw's a little bit of a different story because he's stayed by choice. But some of these other guys, hot names that have been dismissed or recycled through jobs. Freeze had the off the field stuff. Obviously, was a little bit different. Somebody like Pat Fitzgerald at Northwestern, another guy that's where he is by choice. Yeah. He's a Northwestern lifer. Where do you put him? Could Pat Fitzgerald have moved up, to a more resource-laden program by now? Yes, but there he is, just a really, really solid football coach.
Yeah, and if you're if you're Clark Lee at Vanderbilt, you try to take the model that Fitz has had there at Northwestern, and you try to copy it to a T, like copy and paste, because same limitations that you have at Vanderbilt, they have at Northwestern. Pat Fitzgerald played at Northwestern. Clark Lee played fullback at Vanderbilt. Okay, so that's someone that it means more to him to be the Vandy head coach, and it's going to mean to anybody else. And same thing with Fitz, he's going to be prideful and passionate about Northwestern, knowing that for him that's the stop. That's it. That's where he wants to end up. And so it's same thing, if you're a Vandy fan, they have some out there. if you're Clark Lee, like that's the model that you want to have, because I'm not looking to go anywhere else. We caught up with him in Destin, and he said, and we were asking him, okay, if you could give a 20-minute TED Talk on anything and it couldn't be sports, what would it be? And he surprised us because he's a really, really intelligent guy. He's like, NCAA football, the video game. We're like, okay. And we're like, okay, we'll explain that. And he goes into it, and we're like, okay, well, who'd you pick back then? Like, who were you? He's like, I picked Vanderbilt. And Dorian goes, no. Like, who would you really pick?
Yeah.
And he goes, I'd pick Vanderbilt. Like, that's the school that I've always wanted to go to. I went there. I now am the head coach there. And Vanderbilt means something to me. And so in that situation, with the limitations, and there's a couple, I mean, Stanford might even be one of them as well. You mentioned David Shaw. You have to have a guy like that, in my opinion, to be any version of successful.
Sure. You kind of buy into the culture. You're one of their guys. I want to ask you about another formerly hot name who cooled off considerably. When Ed Orgeron was dismissed, we went through a lot of names. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we discussed a lot of names. One of the names I brought up, because I think the guy's a tremendous football coach, was Matt Campbell at Iowa State. And at, what was it, October, whatever it was, when O was dismissed, well, I got a lot of positive feedback on it. Then they started to slide. And all through the month of November, when they were, just falling off the cliff, my friend started saying, you like that guy? I was like, wait, this is an outlier, okay? This is not how he is coached in his time at Iowa State. But there's a window, okay? There's a window when you got to move up. When is the iron the hottest? And I think that you watched Kirby Smart wait a long time at Alabama for the right job.
Mm-hmm.
You watched Brent Venables at Clemson wait a long time for the right job. And they got him.
Yeah.
Okay, Venables got the job he wanted. Smart got the job he wanted. But it doesn't always work out that way. And so I wonder, where is Matt Campbell's stock? And at the end of this season, when we get back into the coaching carousel, is his name going to be high on the list when you have job openings at, high-level Power 5 programs?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Matt Campbell came in at number 9 on this list a year ago. I mean, he was one of the hot names in his career, 42-34 at Iowa State. Might not seem impressive, but at Iowa State, that's highly impressive. So he is a guy that not as polished, right? There's some dirt on the silver, and you got to polish it up again, and I think he can get back to that point because they were just 7-6 last year. They didn't fall completely off of a cliff. But
another one I gave a sort of an endorsement to. I said, you know what? I could see James Franklin here. And when in October when I said that, they were a top 10 team, and I got more grief about that. I even did a podcast. I was like, you know what? This guy checks a lot of the boxes. And the deeper you got into the season, the worse they got.
They did.
And the more grief I took. Like, you want that guy? I think he's a good football coach, but last year was not good.
No, and it's really been kind of 2 years for Penn State. Now, the pandemic year, obviously that was challenging for a lot of people. They had a weird year. They started out with a major losing streak, and then they finished hot, and then they were back on the kind of their losing ways just a year ago. They had a couple of big wins. They beat Auburn, obviously, at home, but still not the season they want to have there in Happy Valley. You mentioned Brent Venables. Oklahoma, to me, is so interesting in the fact that, well, they're about to join the SEC, obviously, whenever that actually does happen, 1, 2, 3 years, we'll see. But nobody's talking about Oklahoma as far as like what they can do. It's about Lincoln Riley left them, so they must be done. Everybody's talking about Texas. Even when it comes to joining the SEC, Texas. At least on this show, the other show I do on Sirius, it's like that's what everybody wants to have a conversation about. In my opinion, Oklahoma and the move to the SEC benefits them much more than it does Texas. Texas has attention. Texas has resources. They have money. They have the recruiting base. They've had those things. Will it go up a little bit? Yeah, probably so. But going to the SEC for Oklahoma, I think that opens doors that even an Oklahoma program hasn't had before. You can go into places now that maybe you couldn't go into. You can say, hey, you know what? We're going to play in Louisiana every other year. We're going to play in Mississippi every year. We're going to play in Alabama every year. We're going to play in the state of Florida every year. Being in the SEC, so you're going to have a different footprint. I think Oklahoma is better set up for success in the SEC right now than Texas is, and it's not really close for me.
It's not close because it hasn't been close for a long time. It's been 12 years since Texas had a football season when they didn't lose 4 games, not counting the pandemic season, which was shortened, okay? 4 losses, okay? 4 losses get you fired around here, okay? 4 losses get you fired at a lot of places now, and they haven't had a season with less than 4 losses since 2009 when Brown was in his heyday. Oklahoma's in the conversation every year, and I expect that to continue. Now, have they bombed out in the playoff? Yeah. Have they been – boy, I'm going to offend the hell out of you right here, but have they been the 96 to 2005 Atlanta Braves, where they're in the playoffs every year, they've got a great record every year, they get to the playoffs every year and they get beat? Maybe. And does this help them get over the hump, or do they slide back and they are a perennial a 9-3 team in the SEC? There's a lot of debate about that. I think they're a lot closer to being a contender to get over that playoff hump than they are to slide back to what Texas has been for the last 12 years. That's me. Yeah. Now, I'm putting a little bit of faith in Venables because I think he's a really good coach. Yeah. But is he going to be a really good head coach? I don't know. It's a whole different animal.
The Texas stuff, we were having this conversation, Hanny, maybe 2 weeks ago. Like, there's fan bases, and Texas is one of them, that every single year they have championship or bust aspirations, and they're just not in that category anymore. There's, in my opinion, 8 schools, maybe 10, that right now, where we're currently at, have a realistic opportunity to win a national championship.
12? Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you on that
because
number.
Don't give me right now, because like there's Penn State. Well, it's been a long time since Penn State's won a national championship. It's been a long time, even since Notre Dame has won a national championship. It's been a long time since Texas A&M has won a national championship. Like Texas outside of VY, it's been a long time. Like you take VY, you can't do it. They went and won it. You take it out of there, a long time since Texas. Even still now, it's been a long time to probably their standards since they've won a national championship. It's just like some of these fan bases have these expectations, and it's just not realistic for a lot of schools. That group is so small, and even some schools that you'll put in that category, it's like, oh, but they could win. It's like, I understand they could, but when you've gone since 1939, if you're A&M and winning a national championship, oil's been in Texas for a long time. Does the NIL game change it? It does. We'll see how much, probably in this football season, but there's a lot of things that have to come together for you to win a national championship.
They do. But let me get back to Texas for a second, okay? If I were on the hiring committee at Texas, I would want somebody to come in and ask the question that Nick Saban asked when he got the job at LSU, which is, there are buku football players coming out of your state, and you have the #1 program in that state. Why are you not winning? Because if you can go all the way back to Darrell Royal. From Darrell Royal to Mack Brown, you're talking about 25 years, I think. They didn't win anything.
Yeah.
I think they had one really good year where I think it was 83, 82 or 83, where they had one loss and they were in the national championship competition. But from Royal to Brown, it was mostly it was bad. Okay, you had a few good years in there, but you were never, other than that 82 or 83, I think it was 83, were you a serious national championship contender? And then you had the 10-year run for Brown, which was great, okay? And now you're back into that wasteland again where you've gone through 3 coaches in 10 years, and you're still not winning. They've had 3 losing seasons, okay? You know what they consider a losing season around here? 8-4. 8-4 is a losing season. Because in the words of the former athletic director, we buy you 3 wins. I mean, come on. So if you can't have a win, you can't win more games than you lose at the University of Texas. What is wrong here? And don't tell me the Longhorn Network, because these were problems long before the Longhorn Network. And don't tell me you can't win big in this conference because Oklahoma does it. What's the problem? I mean, honestly, if I was in that administration, we should be winning way more than this.
Hard to explain.
It
is. You go to Austin, Texas, like we did in 2019, and you see what they have available, and you know the state of Texas. Like, what's going on here? Like, how's it not possible?
Oklahoma went through a similar stretch, but for a way shorter period of time. From the time Barry Switzer left, and Switzer left a mess, okay, an off-the-field mess, okay? Oklahoma had become a renegade program. But from the time Switzer left to the time that Stoops got there and got him back in the national picture, they were a mess. For most of the 90s, they were a mess. But why was it? They had bad coaches, okay? John Blake, God rest his soul, it was not good in that job. Gary Gibbs was not good in that job, all right? But they fixed it.
Yeah.
They went out and they hired good coaches. Texas has tried this thing like 7 or 8 times since Darryl Royal hung up his headset, and they got it right really one time with Mac Brown. And you got to say, why? Why do we keep missing on this? I mean, we should be able to fall backwards into a really good coach at this program at some point because, honestly, we buy you 5 wins at the university. If you are in the Big 12 and you play the non-conference schedule that Texas has, you should have 5 wins before you wake up in the morning. I mean, 5 wins the 4 of us should be able to get Texas to 5 wins based on what they have and who they play. And they don't.
Yeah. And that's with.
And I don't know why.
Haney, I'm right there with you. It took a generational type player in Vince Young to be able to get you that national championship. Now, they got back to another championship, but they lost that game against Alabama. But they've had Heisman Trophy winners. They've had Ricky Williams, and were bad.
Yeah.
Like just a bad football team. And
but
so
Brown had a strong, it was a really, really strong run for 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Give the first couple of years he was there, it was a transition. It had been a mess under Makovic, and he got it straight. He got the recruiting straight. And then from about 2000 or so to 2010, when they lost to Alabama, that was as good. They were as good as anybody. But that was the outlier, okay? You're talking about 45 years since Darryl Royal left there, okay? They got those 10. The other 35, more have been bad than have been good.
Yeah, and look, we're not just picking on Texas. I mean, there was a point.
I'm picking on Texas.
Well, okay,
a little
fair enough. There was a point in LSU after Billy Cannon in the 58 championship that LSU fans were probably having the same conversation. I mean, I know that you had that probably growing up. It's like, wait a minute, you win one, and then what happens right there, and then doesn't come together, and then once it did, like it continued to click, and you've won 3 national championships since then. But look, sometimes programs go through that. It's like, okay, you know who you are, you know who you have to recruit. What's missing? I think for LSU, I think a lot of it was coaching as well. Like you missed on a lot of coaches there when there was some of the roughest times. You have to be able to get the right guy in there, and you have to have the leadership that can get the right guy in there. Texas right now, they have not had that in a long time.
They missed on a lot of guys.
Yeah,
they missed on a lot of guys.
Yeah.
That's how it happened.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I was down in Destin for the SEC meetings. As you know, I want to get some of Haney's thoughts on possible scheduling models. I know scheduling in the SEC is something Haney spent a lot of airtime talking about. Before we take that break, I want to remind you, download the DraftKings app. Download both of the DraftKings apps. Download the Daily Fantasy app. Download the Sportsbook app as well. So many things going on right now. Like as Haney and I were talking about before the show, you can bet on college baseball now. That is a part of what you can do on DraftKings, MLB, NBA Finals. You've got it all right there at your fingertips. Go to the App Store today, download the Sportsbook and the Daily Fantasy DraftKings apps. All right, we are going to take a break. As I mentioned, going to talk SEC football scheduling when we come back here. It's OTB.
Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria, and 1130 The Tiger. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $5,000 off the new 2022 Wagoneer. We have Wagoneers in stock with $5,000 off. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou is going to do right by you. Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
And this year, 2022, it's time to finally treat yourself. Bring your boat to the next level
with front-to-back boat service. You want the latest and greatest marine technology? You want to go to the place that has not one, but two NMEA-certified techs. Family-owned and operated by the Sherman family for 30 years, Front-to-Back is the answer in Baton Rouge for all of your custom boat needs. So head to fronttobackboatservice.com or find them on Facebook, Front-to-Back Boat Service.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by Insurance Network of Louisiana. Josh Smith will join us in Hour 1 to talk about his big league debut. Join us from 3 to 6. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria, and 1130 The Tiger.
All right, welcome back in. OTB here on a Thursday morning. All right, this is going to be like an appetizer for some of the conversation we'll have throughout the show. We've got Billy Embody to join us in about 6-7 minutes from now. But down in Destin, something that I've heard Hanny go off on before, SEC scheduling was probably the main topic outside of NIL and transfer portal and Saban versus Jimbo. Obviously, that was on the main card, if you will. Okay, so scheduling. There was two models. The model that we all kind of knew going in, the 3-6 model, 3 permanent opponents, 6 rotating opponents. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of us there, we're sitting there thinking, okay, that's going to be it. We're going to hear a vote maybe by Friday. We'll see if that's going to be the model that they choose. And then out of nowhere comes the 1-7 model, the 1 permanent opponent, the 7 rotating opponents. And we had off-the-record conversations with some of the coaches in the SEC, in the middle and lower half of the SEC, that were in favor of the 1-7. They talked about a number of different things, but one of the things every one of them talked about, Hanny, was we can't add another SEC game and another potential loss to our record, because we're not set up right now to be able to handle another SEC game, add 9, and also the SEC ACC showdown that you have at the end of the year between the 4 schools. We all know them. Don't have to lay them out here. Like, we have to have that as well. That's important to our bottom line. So the 1-7 kind of came out of nowhere. I know you've done some research. You've talked about this for many, many years. Where do you fall as far as what you would like to see, and what do you think about the 2 models?
Okay, so first of all, yes, they can. Okay, the COVID year proved that. They went to 10 games. So you can play
and that's
9
what
games.
They actually kind of complained about that. Like, they were talking about during the COVID year. And we had somebody on, I forget who it was. I feel bad. We had a beat writer from Kentucky, and they were like, look at Kentucky during the pandemic year. They won 4 games in the all SEC schedule. They were 4-6, but they went to a bowl game and beat a top 20 team from another conference. And so that was kind of like, that was their example.
Yeah, you certainly can. I've been for as much rotation as you can get, so you would think I would be in favor of the 1-7. But if you're going to give me another SEC game in place of Alabama, Akron, or South Carolina versus the Citadel, then count me in, even if it does mean 3 permanent opponents. So I'm okay with that. I think the concession, Jacob, ends up being for those schools. When they say we can't add another SEC loss, what they're really talking about is they can't add another non-home game. They can't add another loss that would keep them out of bowl contention. So I think the concession that's going to end up being made is right now you have a requirement in the league that you have to play a Power 5 team out of conference, at least one every year. I think if you go to 9 conference games, that requirement goes away. So you go to Mississippi State, say, and if you're going to force you to play 9 conference games, then we're not going to force you to play Texas Tech in Houston as a non-conference game. So if you want to take your 3 non-conference games and schedule Akron, the Citadel, and Arkansas State, go right ahead. And that's a concession, at least for now, that I'm willing to make. Now, if I were czar for a day, they'd play 10 games in the SEC, 1 power non-conference game and 1 layup, but I realize that's fantasy. So let's stay in the real world here for a second. I think the 3-6 is going to pass for a number of reasons. Number one, I think it's going to add to the television package. There's going to be a lot of money, so you're going to be able to go tell the Mississippi States of the world, listen, you're not going to have 1 extra home game every single year, but we're going to pull the requirement that you play a non-SEC Power 5 team, and we're going to give you this much more money. And I think that's really what's holding us up. I think that's why they didn't vote. They got to go to ESPN and say, when we bring Oklahoma and Texas into the league, and when we go to 9 games, you have this much more inventory. It's this many more dollars. And when you can go, it's much more convincing when you can go to Mississippi State and say, this is how many more dollars you get, and these are the parameters around which you have to work, because that's what's going to move the conference forward. And I'm for that. I'm for that other than the 1-7, even though there's not as much of a rotation, because it is more SEC football. You and I have seen all of the LSU versus Utah State games we want to see. And I understand that it's sort of it's kind of like paying a cover charge to go into the place, that you've got to take the games against UL Monroe and Akron because they pay the bills around college football. It doesn't mean I want to see them, okay? So it's just, hey, you got to eat your vegetables before you get to the prime rib. Okay, well, then you got to take a little bit of that. But let's keep it at a minimum. And the 3-6 will also satisfy it'll satisfy the need for some of the secondary rivalries. Like Alabama has to play Auburn every year. Even I know that. But Georgia doesn't have to play Auburn every year. They think they do, but they don't. And Alabama doesn't have to play Tennessee every year. They think they do, but they don't. And Tennessee is the most fascinating team to me in this new SEC hierarchy, because they're the one team that is considered, if you take the 16 teams that'll be in the SEC and you draw a line top to bottom, then Tennessee falls in the bottom 8 right now, but they're the one school that historically has been in the top of the SEC and could get back there again. I don't expect to see Mississippi State. I'm sorry, Rivers, but I'm sorry. I don't expect to see Mississippi State rise to the level of being a top 5 SEC school every single year. They can pull a year here and there, but no. But Tennessee could. They have before in the past. They've got enough resources. They are hungry. It's been a long time for them. They're motivated. They could move up. And so this could end up screwing Alabama a little bit, which I'm all for, because if you're going to talk about permanent opponents, you talk about, are you taking them out of the top half, or are you taking them out of the bottom half? Dellinger did a great piece on this, okay, for SI. If you're in the top 8, which LSU is, okay, and the schools are easy to name. It's Alabama, Auburn, it's LSU, it's A&M, it's Oklahoma, Texas, Georgia, and Florida.
Yeah.
That's the top 8. So if you're in the top 8 of your 3 permanent opponents, you get 2 out of the top 8 and 1 out of the bottom.
Right.
And if you're in the bottom, you get 2 out of the bottom and 1 out of the top. And Tennessee and Alabama under this 3-6 model will retain their rivalry.
Game, yeah.
But Tennessee, like I said, is the one school that could regain top tier status if they put the resources in it, they hire the right people, they could do that. Kentucky can't.
Right.
They won't. Okay, Mississippi State won't. Not every year. Tennessee could, and nothing would make me happier than Alabama having to play a harder schedule than anybody else in the top 8, because they're the ones that have been manipulating this damn thing for 30 years.
Right.
So if they get screwed on the redraw, great. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's I'm just glad something. I'm glad something. Like, we know it's going to change. Like, the scheduling in the SEC was the one major flaw in the SEC for so long. I mean, when I talk to other people, and I know we got to go to break, we got Billy Embody joining us here in minutes, but when I talk to people, like when I do a show with Bobby Carpenter, or EJ Manuel, whoever it is, and I'll start talking about how long it is in between games for SEC schools, they're like, that's not real. I'm like, no, it's real.
Look it up. It's real.
14 years between LSU's trips to Lexington. Georgia has not been to College Station yet. LSU would not have gone to Como yet if it wasn't for a global pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Like those things, other people hear that and they're like, there's no way. I'm like, oh, it's possible, and it happens in the SEC. So I'm okay with either model. I hate to be Switzerland here, but change in any fashion is going to be good for SEC scheduling.
The 1-7 is far superior to the model that they have
right
now.
Yes.
But it's not as good as it could be.
No, I agree with you there. All right, we'll take a break. We're going to have more scheduling talk throughout the show, but when we come back, Billy Embody on 3 Sports is going to join us. LSU is in camp season. They've got 7-on-7 coming to Baton Rouge this week. Going to be a lot of highly touted prospects here in the capital city. We'll talk with Billy Embody up on 3 Sports about that and much more when we come back. It's OTB.
Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob.
All right, centralplumbing.org. As we tell you every single time that T-Bob's on vacation, now is the time to call. T-Bob is not taking up the fleet. He's not in town. He can't mess up his plumbing. So go ahead, give him a call, 225-925-8552. That is the 24/7 emergency services number. They have the fleet available. If you go to centralplumbing.org, you'll see right there on the homepage. I mean, they are stacked up, ready to go. So that tells you they can handle certainly your residential problem in emergency. They can handle your commercial, whatever you've got going on. You've got a business that has major issues. They can come in and they'll get it fixed, and they'll get it fixed ASAP. Just the kind of service you're going to get, and that's the kind of service that Central Plumbing's been given this area for a very long time. Don't forget, though, they can also do more. They can remodel your bathroom at your home or business. They can come in. They can give you that new tankless water heater at your home or business. They can do it all over at Central Plumbing and centralplumbing.org.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
If you're in an accident, a car accident, a slip and fall where you're injured, you need to call an attorney. The defendant insurance company, it's their goal to close the case as quickly as possible and pay out the least amount of money as possible. That's why it's important to call an attorney and call the law offices of O.C. Brown.
At the law office of O.C. Brown, we're a family-owned firm. We want to be your law firm for a lifetime.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Poor boy raised amid turn-of-the-century New Orleans, Louis Armstrong became one of the most recognizable people on Earth. Visit dropbiscuit.com today and check out the trailer to our first original series, Pops, The Louis Armstrong Story, starring Reno Wilson. Subscribe today. All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria, and 1130 The Tiger.
All right, welcome back in Off the Bench. My man Charles Hanniger sitting in for T-Bob Hebert here on a Thursday morning. Going to go to the phone lines now. Got our guy Billy Embody on 3 Sports, at Billy Embody on Twitter. Always a great follow. Joins us now. Billy, good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing well, guys. How about you?
Doing good, and we've got a lot to get to. LSU's got camp season. They've got 7-on-7 coming to town this weekend. But before we get to any of that, I'm looking at this video online the other day, and it's the Warriors that are crashing this wedding apparently, and I'm like, oh, that's a cool little video. And I'm like, wait a minute. That looks like Shea Dixon in the crowd. Wait a minute. That looks like Emily Dixon in the crowd. And they pan the camera over. I'm like, I'll be damned, that's Billy Embody. Wait a minute, what's going on here? It was your wedding that apparently Steph Curry and the Warriors crashed. Like, what in the hell? Tell me the story. How'd this happen?
Okay, all right. So they did not crash the wedding.
Man,
they were staying at the hotel we had it at. They kind of rolled through at right before the ceremony started. Brandon Seho, who was at the wedding, actually got the video of me and my moronic response to it, but it was pretty cool. I was just obviously a little nervous. I need a Tosh web redemption for my reaction, I think. But it's funny, man. It was a cool little story right before it, so it was awesome.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, hey, that's something you'll always have. I mean, you're always going to have that moment. Steph Curry, one of the best basketball players we've ever seen, just walking across, just casually. And, yeah, by the way, you are probably pretty nervous. I mean, you're about to get married, one of the biggest days of your life. And, now you got, NBA Hall of Famers that are making sure you're doing things the right way, Billy.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, he did turn down a picture. My brother asked him right after the wedding. He's like, hey, do you want a picture with the bride and groom? He goes, no. So he's too focused on moving on in the playoffs, I think.
You got to figure that these guys are in these really, really nice hotels every April, May, and June, which is prime wedding season. They walk through a wedding probably 15 times every playoffs, right? So this is old hat for them, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, some of the guys weren't maybe dressed to the dress code we had going on, but you know what, we would have welcomed them in.
Yeah.
You know? They would have been welcome guests.
Oh man, that is awesome. Of course, Billy Embody on 3 Sports is our guest here on Off the Bench. All right, let's get to some recruiting. You've had some camps here in Baton Rouge. You've got some great high school players that are going to be in the capital city for 7-on-7 this weekend. So obviously this is big. I mean, June has really become January now in the recruiting calendar. Official visits during camp time. This is like way busier, Billy, than it's ever really been before in June, right?
Yeah, this is the busiest month of the year for recruiting staffs. I mean, assistant coaches as well, but these recruiting staffs have put together these visits, put together the camps, get these players to come to campus, and whether it be visits during the week or you know, just camps and official visits, they are just grinding this month, and it's all, you know, to hope that these guys that decide before their senior seasons jump on board, and then they got to keep recruiting them, obviously, and try to keep them in the class. But this is kind of the big time of year where you know, these recruiting guys, they really make their name for themselves. And you know, for LSU, this is really a prime opportunity to build this class and get some more momentum heading into the back half of the summer.
Billy, have you seen any, you know, difference, I guess, in maybe the way that this staff is going about recruiting than other staffs? I mean, you've been covering LSU for a long time now. You cover SMU as well. So, I mean, you've kind of seen it done a lot of different ways. But as far as like this staff, maybe the way they're attacking Louisiana, I think a lot of fans are intrigued by that because Brian Kelly and his last stop and some of the other staff members, obviously the state of Indiana is not the state of Louisiana when it comes to high school football. So they had to have a different pipeline. But in Louisiana, obviously you can dominate the state. You can have a pretty good class. Like, have you noticed anything different with this staff and the way they were attacking Louisiana?
Yeah, I think right now they are trying to still play, and I don't think they're trailing on a bunch of guys, but they're trying to play catch up still with this 2023 class. You know, they just got hired still. These are guys that now have had relationships for the most part with these other colleges that have been recruiting them for a long time. And this new staff, whether, you know, be a position coach or, you know, Brian Kelly himself, they're still developing those relationships for the most part. So it's taken them a little bit maybe a little bit slower than people probably wanted, but we're starting to see them make some headway in Louisiana. You know, guys like Kylan Jackson, Shelton Sampson, Derek Williams was just back on campus, and those are 3 of the top players in the state that LSU would take tomorrow and try to get on board. And I think we're starting to see, you know, also some of these prospects kind of, you know, show their cards. I mean, I think Arch Manning, for example, is a long shot. We've talked about him for a while. You know, Derek Williams is still a tough pull. Tackett Curtis, kind of same story there. Jaden Osbury is a big name as well. Still very interested in LSU, but taking a lot of out-of-state official visits. And I just think that this is a staff that's, you know, doing it the right way. They're certainly recruiting hard. I don't know what it'll end up looking like come signing day. I do think this is, you know, looking at the talent, it's probably a bit of a down year as far as guys that LSU probably should take. So it actually kind of works out. They've been going a little bit more out of state, and then we'll kind of see their approach in 2024. And if, you know, that cycle in Louisiana ends up panning out a little bit better. But, you know, for the most part, they're trying to build momentum. They're getting the right guys on campus. You know, by the end of June, we'll have a really good idea of where they stand with a lot of these prospects. And then on the flip side of things, nationally, I think we're seeing some of the high-end guys that they're on, for the most part, if they're not going to end up at LSU, they're kind of bowing out or they're, you know, the guys aren't including them right now in those top schools. In the past, we've seen a lot of these high-profile national guys that if you talk to people around the country, they'd tell you in June that they probably aren't going to LSU, barring a Eric Gilbert situation where he shocks the entire recruiting world. And so those guys are not necessarily stringing LSU along either. Right. I mean, Yonel Aguero just cut LSU, and it's tough because you thought, okay, maybe they'd get an official visit, but on the bright side, they didn't get strung along, and, you know, he'd come back for an official visit and things like that.
Yeah, in the quarterback class, you mentioned Arch there. Obviously, it's a little intriguing because you have two top-tier quarterbacks, two top 10 quarterbacks within your state, but you never really felt like, no matter who the coach was, that LSU had any opportunity. Certainly with Arch Manning, we know the history there, but even with Eli Holstein, like in his history, with Walker Howard, you never felt like LSU was in on there. So, yes, LSU is going to miss out on those players, but that circumstance is not something that I don't think anybody could really fix.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's not something to sound the alarms over and, obviously overreact, but some people will. I think, Eli Holstein, when he committed to Alabama and he did a couple of visits to LSU, I think that was probably a little bit of a poor taste. I think he probably knew he was going to Alabama, but, other than that, I think for the most part, yeah, you nailed it right on the head. Like, those guys are probably not, for Arch especially, not going to end up at LSU. And so you recruit Ricky Collins locally, and you also go out nationally and try to land these guys. On the bright side, the QB room is looking good right now. Now, that could change if Garrett Nussmeier wins the job, and who knows what happens from there. But this is a good group that they have, and not too many schools in a way that aren't the true Ohio State and Alabama and a couple other schools that take a 5-star or a top 100 guy every year, no matter what, are in the position LSU's in and have to, get recruited against in that respect too.
Billy Embody is our guest here off the bench. Billy Embody of On3 Sports, at Billy Embody on Twitter. I've got one more for you before we let you go, Billy. You mentioned Tackett Curtis there. Tackett Curtis from Manning, Louisiana. I think that he owes all of his success to the guy that worked him out about 5 different times when he was 9 years old. I think that's really where his success came from. Now, I mean, I will say this, though. I told you this, Billy. At 9 years old, the kid could do a ladder drill like I'd never seen before. I'm like, okay, who are you? What position do you play? But Tackett Curtis he's always been somebody. Like I said, I had a chance to work him out back when he was a youngster, and he has just continued to develop and grow. I mean, he's 6'2", 215 pounds now, can play a number of positions. It never really felt like LSU and the prior staff really had any kind of point of emphasis with Tackett Curtis to make sure that they made him feel like a priority. You look at this staff now. Has that changed at all? Has this staff, maybe taken more of a liking to Tackett Curtis? Is this something where they're in on him?
Yeah, I think I would say that they're in it. I do feel like they're still playing a little bit from behind with like Ohio State and Wisconsin. I know USC did a good job with him. But Ohio State, Jim Knowles has recruited him all the way since he was at Oklahoma State and has recruited him as his top linebacker, it feels like, for the most part. And he's felt that, and I feel like he's still probably leaning towards the Buckeyes, and LSU's going to try to get him on campus for a visit. But, I do feel like LSU's made him a priority. I mean, the whole staff is – not the whole staff, but, they've had quite a few members roll through Manny this spring and during the month of January that they could get out, which didn't necessarily happen under the prior staff. I think, all the way back when A.J. Carter signed, I believe, with Arizona State, or he signed with somewhere else. I think there was a decommitment in there, but he committed to LSU for a day, decommitted after that. Anyway, that whole thing, I think there was some bad blood a little bit with the old staff, but the new staff has, moved on, and that's, really benefited LSU. I think, you look ahead to 2024, Tylen Singleton is one of the best prospects in the state, and I think they're going to have a really good chance to land him because of the way they've rebuilt the relationship with Manning.
All right, there he is, Billy Embody, as good as anyone. Always a pleasure to have him on. He's a star. He's got the Warriors showing up to his wedding. The guy can do it all. At Billy Embody on Twitter. Billy, by the way, congratulations on getting married. That is fantastic. And obviously, when you have the stars show up, it's going to be a memory that everybody remembers. But first off, just congratulations. Probably should have led with that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Looking forward to that honeymoon at the end of June.
And I send my congratulations as well, as does Steph Curry and Draymond and Klay Thompson
and
all those other guys.
Yeah, the whole bunch.
They all sent
notes. Billy, you're the man. We appreciate it, brother. Have a good day.
You guys too. Thanks for having me.
All right, we will take a break here on Off the Bench. When we come back, we'll dive more into some of the scheduling stuff. Haney and I are going to spend a couple of segments on that. Don't forget, we got your Munchie questions at 9:30. Go ahead and get that ready to go. Chef Michael Johnson will join us at 9:30. Still much more to come here. It's Off the Bench.
Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob.
Go to GEAUXroof.com, GEAUXroof.com. 927-8300 is the number. 927-8300 is the number. And you go there, you're going to get a beautiful new roof every shingle time. Call them up when they answer the phone, hit them with the roofs, and then be like, hey, but seriously, I need you to come out and see what's going on with my roof. And they're going to be like, all right, cool. It's really easy to schedule a time. And then guess what? It's free to get that estimate. That's right, a free professional estimate. It costs you nothing for them to come out of your home. Once the work begins, right, you make a fully informed decision. Then once the work begins, everybody's licensed, bonded, and insured. They offer a 2-year workmanship guarantee on top of the manufacturer warranty. I tell you about it every day, right? Because I want to reinforce that Go Roof is just about the customer, okay? They're about maximizing the community's roofing needs, and they stand by their work before, during, and after the process. Go to GEAUXroof.com. Go Roof!
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli? I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
And this year, 2022, it's time to finally treat yourself. Bring your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service. You want the latest and greatest marine technology? You want to go to the place that has not one, but 2 NMEA-certified techs. Family-owned and operated by the Sherman family for 30 years. Front-to-back is the answer in Baton Rouge for all of your custom boat needs. So head to fronttobackboatservice.com or find them on Facebook, Front-to-Back Boat Service.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Jimmy Ott and Charles Henniger for the Thursday evening edition of Game Time, presented by Bet Rivers. We're at Finbaum on Burbank and Lee. Game Time presented by Bet Rivers, 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria, and 1130 The Tiger.
Well, another hour down and another bad clock management. Maybe it's not T-Bob. Maybe it's just both of us. I always get on to him about it, but I've done the same thing today. Twice.
Till you walk a mile in a man's shoes, right?
It's okay. T-Bob out at Disneyland for the next couple of days. I think it's probably more for T-Bob than it is for Alice and Odie.
Well, how much time are they going to spend in Adventureland and how much time are they going to spend in Star Wars Land?
Yeah.
That'll tell you.
Yeah.
The Star Wars stuff is for T-Bob.
I think the whole trip's for T-Bob.
Fantasyland is for the kids.
Yeah, I think so as well. All right, I know it's a short segment, but in hour number 3, we're going to get back into some of the scheduling stuff. Handy did a great job doing a podcast about some of the games that you have to play and the ones that you think you have to play, but you really don't have to play them at all. We'll have that for you, Munchies, as well in hour number 3. It's OTB.
Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob.
All right, go to RejuveMeMedical.com. At RejuveMeMedical.com, you will see a full list of what you can get done over at the Age Defying Clinic. Conditions that they treat, the list is long and distinguished, right? Fatigue and insomnia, mood and memory problems, sexual dysfunction, if you've got weight gain and you can't figure it out. We talk about this a lot. Okay, maybe that you stayed at the same weight and you're like, I've been working out, I've been eating right, why can't I lose weight? Or maybe you're gaining weight and you're telling yourself, I've done the same things. I've not changed my diet. I've not been eating a ton of bad foods. I just can't explain why I'm gaining weight. Well, they can figure it out because what they're going to do is they have a 3-step process. They're going to take your labs and they're going to figure out whatever you need them to figure out, whatever's going on with you, why you can't do something or why something is happening to you. They will get it figured out over at Rejuve Me. You can get a consultation set up 2 different ways. You can go to RejuveMeMedical.com, top right corner of the website, or you can pick up the phone, call them today, 225-230-4201.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $5,000 off the new 2022 Wagoneer. We have Wagoneers in stock with $5,000 off. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
If you're in an accident, a car accident, a slip and fall where you're injured, you need to call an attorney. The defendant insurance company, it's their goal to close the case as quickly as possible and pay out the least amount of money as possible. That's why it's important to call an attorney and call the law offices of O.C. Brown.
At the law office of O.C. Brown, we're a family-owned firm. We want to be your law firm for a lifetime.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
If home is where the heart is, a roof is a shield. That's why for over 25 years, South Louisiana always turns to Garcia Roofing and Sheet Metal. For more information, visit garciadidmyroof.com.
Good morning. It's 9 a.m. on Thursday, June 9th. Today in Baton Rouge, expect to see cloudy skies with a high of 93. If you missed hours 1 or 2, you can now catch that up at the on-demand section at 1045ESPN.com. Coming up on OTBOT, Chef Michael Johnson joins the show at 9:30 for Munchies. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at OTB_ESPN, or watch us on YouTube at the 1045 ESPN channel and subscribe for daily content. OTBOT, live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, starts now.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Jacob Hester and T-Bob Hebert. Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob.
Hey, P, they said I gotta come off the bench.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob. Yo, yo, yo.
All right, welcome in. Hour number 3 of Off the Bench. My man Haney filling in for T-Bob Hebert. I'm sure we'll get videos of T-Bob out there at Disneyland probably pretty soon. He's already talked about all the things that they're doing out there. And again, this vacation is probably for T-Bob, but enjoy your vacation, big fella. It's your 10th of the year so far, so enjoy it. Because you can't have any more vacation days. There's no way possible that T-Bob has any more vacation days after this trip. And he can say, well, wait a minute, you were out last week. But remember, I was still working. I was getting interviews. I came on the show every day. Was doing multiple radio shows. And so don't come at me with that, T-Bob.
You know what? I always ask the other personnel in the room that have less of a stake in this because they got to come to work here regardless. So you ask, all right. Danny and Mario, who takes too much vacation time and who should have some left? I mean, you got to go with the guys that don't have a real stake in the game.
Okay, that's true. Mario sleeps here, so I think Mario's going to have a good answer.
Mario's got to work whether you show up, T-Bob shows up, or neither of you show up. So does Danny. So ask them.
All right, fellas.
Yeah, we've definitely seen a diverse set of guest hosts when y'all have vacationed. But I think Danny has more vacation time than me, or he's taking more vacation.
Danny, you take vacation?
Not yet. Not
You've got it coming, though.
Yeah.
I got 17 days, Handy.
It feels like T-Bob has taken more days off, but he claims that you've taken more than him, so I don't know.
Okay. I think it's T-Bob.
I took the 5 days in Vegas, and that was it this year.
Danny, you've got like a Greece trip coming up, don't you?
Yeah, I'll be in Greece this summer.
How long are you going
Italy,
there?
Probably.
Can't have money.
That's not a long weekend, I'm guessing. You're gonna be going more than a Thursday and a Friday, right?
Yeah. Oh. So I mean, I've got my 15th wedding anniversary coming up this summer.
I'm 10. This summer as well.
Congratulations. I feel like I probably need to make sure I don't drop the ball on that. So like the vacation days that I do have, I feel like they need to be spent there. And although we got SEC media days in July, right around my anniversary.
Don't take her there.
No. God, no. If I took Katie Hester to Atlanta for SEC meeting, she would.
Happy anniversary.
It'd be my last anniversary.
Happy anniversary. Let's go to media.
Let's go to
days.
Atlanta and go to media
Let's just
days.
get her a bowling ball while you're at it.
Oh man, that would not go very well. Okay, so sounds like the boys said T-Bob. That's what I heard at least. All right, Haney. We've been talking SEC scheduling and just really scheduling in general. And it's not only the SEC; it's going to be the ACC's changing their model. The Pac-12's changing their model, although they're staying in divisions, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, but not a lot of things that the Pac-12 does currently make a lot of sense to me. We know the Big 12, and we know their format because everybody plays everybody. That will change once they add some new teams, I'm sure, but the SEC is what we care about on this show. It's what we're talking about. You mentioned Alabama and Tennessee, and I agree with you. And that's not just that game. I mean, Florida-LSU means more to me than any other game in the SEC. But I realize you're probably going to lose that. I understand that. And, hey, Alabama, Tennessee, if you really want to play, if it means that much to you, you know what you can do? You can play non-conference. Because we've seen that done too.
One of the things, when you say you're going to lose LSU, Florida, you're not going to lose it forever.
No, you lose it every year.
You're going to lose it every
other year.
You're going to play. Here's what I would like for them to accomplish, no matter what format that they do. The schedules are not going to be equal every year. Some years you're going to have to play Georgia, and some years you're going to get to play Vanderbilt, okay? This happens in the NFL. You get to play the Texans. You have to play the Chiefs.
Yeah.
But what the NFL does is they balance this over a 4-year period with the interconference schedules, okay? you play the AFC West. If you're the NFC South, you play the AFC West one time in 4 years. And the next year you play the North, and the next year you play the East, and so on. So we do this strength of schedule stuff every year, but over a 4-year period, it balances, okay? That's what I'd like to see. Over a 4-year period, that it balances, okay? I understand that Alabama's always going to be better than Vanderbilt, and Florida's almost always going to be better than Kentucky. But don't make me play Florida every year, and I never get to play Kentucky.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that the Ole Misses of the world say, listen, we got to keep Vanderbilt on our schedule. Well, I'm sure you would like that, okay? Vanderbilt's a perennial bottom of the league, and you would rather play them than Auburn. Just make it balance over a 4-year period. That's all I'm asking. And there's a couple of rivalries, 3 in the league, in my opinion, that have to be played every year. 3 and 3 only. Everything else is negotiable. Auburn and Alabama have to play every year. I wouldn't dare touch the Iron Bowl, okay? Much as I dislike Alabama, I understand the importance of that game. It has to be played every single year. And the Egg Bowl has to be played every single year. Ole Miss and Mississippi State should play every single year. And so should Georgia and Florida.
Right.
And that's the list.
I know
if Auburn and Georgia don't play,
3.
okay, I understand every year, okay? I understand the longest running rivalries. I get it, okay? Nebraska and Oklahoma used to play every year.
LSU and Tulane.
Yeah. Things change, and in the interest of progress, you're going to have to put, and like you said, if you have to go play a non-conference, which they're not going to do, balance it over 4 years. I'm willing to make exceptions for these 3 games. I'm not willing to make exceptions for Alabama and Tennessee or Auburn and Georgia. I'm not willing to make exceptions for LSU and A&M. I'm not even willing to make exceptions for A&M and Texas when Texas comes in the league. Now, I think Texas and Oklahoma should play every year.
Yeah.
But Texas and Texas A&M stopped playing, and everybody hemmed and hawed. But you know what? Life went on.
It did.
And it would. Okay. Those are the 3. I told you I got 25 in college football,
you said
and 25 only.
You said you had 25. You just laid out
across
the
college
3
football.
SEC. So we're left with 22. All right. Let me see how much of this list I can get, and I know I'm going to miss a bulk of it.
Right, look, this is my list. Okay, this is not anybody else's list. This is my
You've been doing
opinion.
this a long time, Hanny.
You can disagree. It's fine.
And
It's kind of what talk radio is about.
And
actually.
I trust you in this list more than I would a lot of people. All right, so we're at 22 games. So Ohio State, Michigan
have to be played.
Has to be played. Michigan State.
Yeah, and Michigan's one of just a couple of schools on this list that has 2 that has to be played. Very few.
So that
schools
has to be played.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
USC, UCLA.
Yes.
That has to be played.
Try to keep it by conference so I can keep going. Michigan State, and Michigan Ohio State are 2 of 3 games in the Big Ten that have to be played every year. Indiana Purdue. The old Oak and Bucket. Very good.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Nothing else in the Big Ten has to be played every year. Okay. Illinois and Indiana don't have to play every year.
That's right.
We'll be just fine.
We'll be just okay.
If Minnesota and Wisconsin don't play, we'll just pick, another game.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah. All right. So okay, that's 6.
So we're going to the ACC now?
Sure.
Okay. Oh, this is where I'm going to really mess up. Florida State.
Well, that's a non-con. That's a Florida State.
Sorry. Florida State, Miami. Sorry.
Florida State, Miami. Yes, that made my list.
ACC.
I got 4.
You got 4?
I got 4. And look, if a couple of these games
North Carolina State, North Carolina.
Yes. And it's not like that's going to impact things nationally, but if North Carolina and North Carolina State are 8 miles apart or whatever it is, they need to play. And North Carolina needs to play Duke too. And I realize nobody in the world cares.
Football?
Yeah, nobody cares about Duke football.
But as the crow flies, they're right by each other.
In the ACC, they need to play.
Okay. All right, so I need one more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna pull up the ACC here because Virginia Tech.
Yes, that's the 4.
That's the 4. Okay,
that have to play. You're doing well.
All right, doing well. All right, so where do we go now? We go to the Big 12.
Okay.
Are we still counting Oklahoma, Texas in the Big 12
for the moment? Yes.
Okay, Oklahoma, Texas.
Yes.
How many more do we have?
4. No, I'm sorry, 3.
All right, we got 3 more. Oh boy. All right, this is where I'm. Kansas State.
Yes,
that's another one. Oklahoma State.
Bedlam is one of my favorite games of the year. I love Bedlam.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And this other one is not going to impact things nationally, but these 2 teams need to play.
TCU, Texas Tech.
Mm-mm.
All right, I got nothing.
Iowa State. They played that game every year since 1977, and it goes back. It goes back all the way to
different conferences.
Yeah, and,
right.
and nobody cares about that game here, but it needs to be played every year. If you are a Iowa, if you're a resident of Iowa, however you say it, Iowan,
an Iowan.
Iowa and Iowa State need to play
that up?
every year. All right, so that's the 4 out of the Big 12.
Okay, how many do I have left?
There's 5 out of the Pac-12.
Oh, 5
and
out
they're
of the
all
Pac-12?
they're all easy.
Oregon State.
Yes.
Washington State.
Apple Cup. Yeah.
Arizona State.
Yes.
I already mentioned UCLA, USC.
Yes. And the big game.
Stanford Cal.
Yeah. Those 5 games they have to be played. All right, so that's the 5 big conferences. And by the way, I didn't do this for the group of 5. Okay, this is 5. All right, so there's 5 more interconference games that need to be played. 5. You already mentioned one. Was Florida State. Yeah, and they're all
Kentucky, Louisville on that list.
It is.
Okay, Georgia Tech.
It is.
Clemson, South Carolina.
Yes.
I got one more.
Now here's where it gets tough.
West Virginia Pitt.
West Virginia Pitt was 26. You can look at right down here. And listen, I love that game, and the game's coming back this year for the first time in 10 years, and it's on the Thursday night for the opener, the backyard brawl. Great rivalry. Yeah. That's one 10 years ago. I would have put on the list that, man, West Virginia and Pitt need to play every year. But you know what? They stopped, and the college football world kept spinning. I think that game needs to be played, but I can give you evidence that, hey, listen, everything was fine. Okay, but I think they should play that game.
All right, so I agree with you, and I've heard too many people that have played in that game, just and what that game means. And if that game wasn't played, I don't have a national championship.
And I'm cheating just I'm cheating just a little bit because I told you Power 5 teams.
I feel like Notre Dame. Is this a Notre Dame game?
It is not a Notre Dame game. I put like I said, I'm cheating here because I put Army Navy on this list, which is not a Power 5. Yeah. Army and Navy have to play every year. And then the last game on my list, one of them is a Power 5 team and the other one isn't. And they actually discontinued this for 2 years and decided that was stupid, so now they're playing again. BYU and Utah. Yeah. The Holy War is a great series. And they
think it's going away again.
Well, and I hate that. I hate that.
Up, down,
and listen, college football will continue if BYU and Utah don't play, but I think they need to play. Yeah. Interesting that the 2 years they discontinued the series, one of those 2 years they ended up playing each other in a bowl game. And where else? And you remember what bowl game it was? Where else would you play a game called the Holy War? They played the Las Vegas Bowl.
So, I was like, all right, this is either going to be really obvious or really ironic.
Yeah.
It was ironic.
So so some of the games that didn't make the list that I think should be played. I think A&M and Texas should play, but they hate each other so much that that's turned into such a political football that I mean they haven't been. But I think they should play. I think Notre Dame and USC should play.
Yeah, that would probably be on my list.
And I think they should play Stanford and Boston College every year too. If I were scheduling for Notre Dame, I would keep those 3 teams on my schedule every year. I also think Notre Dame should play Michigan, but again, they stopped doing that series, and we got along just fine. If I were the AD at Notre Dame, I'd want to play those three games. So I also think that Notre Dame Michigan State was a very nice rivalry and nice game.
But again, football can go on.
Yes, football can go on. So those were my 25. And
outside of that, let's figure scheduling out on a better rotation.
Yeah,
I'd have to agree with you.
And I like watching Auburn and Georgia play football. Yeah, that's a really good game. It's a terrific rivalry, but it's not worth upsetting the balance of fairness in the Southeastern Conference, and neither is Alabama, Tennessee. And nowhere on this list did LSU come close.
Right.
There is not a game that I think LSU has to play every single year.
And we're going to talk about that when we come back in the LSU portion of this. But to your point, like about Auburn and Georgia, Auburn and Florida used to be a big deal. When Chris Doering was playing, he always talks about, man, that was a rival. Exactly. And it went away. We moved on.
Yeah.
And just like I'd like to watch Auburn and Georgia, if Auburn and Florida play, I'm going to be just as intrigued.
That's
right?
absolutely
so.
Right.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll have the LSU side of these conversations, because LSU, if it is a 3-6 model, who does Haney think those 3 teams will be for LSU, considering that rival kind of rotates for the LSU Tigers? We'll have that for you when we come back here on OTB.
OTB, OT.
All right, go to airflownow.com, airflownow.com. Now is the time where your hard hat just needs to get a lot cooler. And if you get that Tornado from Tiger Air, that's exactly what you're going to get. 3.5 ounces. 3.5 ounces, right? It's going to clip right into your hard hat. And what it does is it can run for 8 hours straight. This thing can run for 8 hours straight. It's got different speeds. So you can turn it on, you can turn it off with ease. You can leave it on for 8 hours if you want to, if you want to stay cool during this South Louisiana heat. This thing's also waterproof. That's something you don't have to worry about. ANSI 89.1 compliant, every standard that it needs to meet, it meets and exceeds those expectations, right? So go ahead, go to the website now. You can really get an awesome look at exactly what you're going to get. You can see some of the questions that come up as far as the specs or whatever you might need to see from that tornado that we tell you about every single day. But stay cool, stay safe in the South Louisiana heat. Go to airflownow.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
And this year, 2022, it's time to finally treat yourself. Bring your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service. You want the latest and greatest marine technology? You want to go to the place that has not one, but two NMEA-certified techs. Family-owned and operated by the Sherman family for 30 years, front-to-back is the answer in Baton Rouge for all of your custom boat needs. So head to fronttobackboatservice.com or find them on Facebook, Front to Back Boat Service.
Thursday edition of Hunt and Hill. Tall Paul Gervais will join us from the road, looking back on his year in Baton Rouge and what's next for the big right-hander. Join us Thursday, noon to 2, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Our Lady of the Lake Ascension and 100.7 The Tigers Swamp Pop Music Fest and Jambalaya Cook-Off is Saturday, June 25th from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Lamar Dixon. Thanks to our title sponsor, Our Lady of the Lake Ascension, Jambalaya Cook-Off sponsor Mike Ward's Liberty Safes, and presenting sponsor Supreme Chevrolet. All the proceeds from the Jambalaya plate sales will go to Alzheimer's Services. For the lineup of bands and to purchase tickets, go to 1045ESPN.com.
OTB OT with Hester and T-Bob on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 94.7 ESPN Alexandria.
All right, welcome back into OTB, talking a lot of scheduling in the SEC here on the show today. We haven't really done a deep dive into LSU, Haney, and what LSU could potentially look at when it comes to the 3-6 model. The 1-7 model, we can talk about that later. I think the 3-6 is the one that a lot of people are interested in because obviously you're going to have 3 permanent opponents. The other 6 will rotate, which again, it's so much better than it currently is right now. Even when I was playing in the SEC, there was only 12 teams. If you didn't redshirt, you still missed an away stadium. I missed South Carolina, so even when it was 12 teams, it still needed to be fixed, and this looks like we're going to get it fixed. It's going to be in a better situation. But I want to ask you, you're someone who's watched LSU for a long time. You've seen that rival rotate. You've seen it be at times Ole Miss. You've seen it at times in the early 2000s be Auburn. You've seen it be Florida. You've seen it be Alabama. You've seen it, lately maybe become Texas A&M. So you've seen really all the different teams that LSU would consider a rival at that time. But if you only get to pick 3, what are those 3?
I think the 3 that make the most sense would, and again, if we're going to use Dellinger's model here, which is 2 out of the top 8 and 1 out of the bottom 8, it would be Texas A&M, Alabama, and Ole Miss. I'll hear an argument that you could swap Mississippi State out for Ole Miss. LSU's actually played more games against Mississippi State, but we're
played more. Mississippi State and LSU have played more than almost anybody.
Yeah, I think more than anybody.
Yeah.
But why is that? Because they started playing them in 1899 instead of 1906. I mean, do we really care? Right. But if you wanted to swap out Ole Miss for Mississippi State, I'll hear an argument. If you wanted to swap out Auburn for Alabama, I would hear an argument. If they go with the 1-7 model, I think LSU is going to be paired with Texas A&M. It's really more of a problem for A&M than it is for LSU because A&M is going to have to figure out, do they want Texas as a permanent opponent? And if A&M has one permanent opponent, and is it Texas or is it LSU? I think it's LSU because if you have one permanent opponent, I think Texas's permanent opponent is going to be Oklahoma. If it's 3 permanent opponents, then Texas A&M is going to play LSU and Texas, and then somebody out of the bottom 8. So if we're talking about 3-6, I think that A&M is the one school that's probably linked to LSU more than any. The Mississippi schools are interchangeable. The Alabama schools are interchangeable. But if you're asking me for a preference, I'd say LSU plays Alabama, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M.
Yeah, and just a reminder, this isn't going to be a pod system. Pods is something we spent way too much time, wasted a lot of time talking about. It's not going to be a pod system.
There was no sports, okay? It was a pandemic. We had to have a topic, all right?
No, not just you and I. Everyone that opens up the microphones and talks about this. I mean, it was so funny. I mean, when the news was announced, we were at Superior in Birmingham, and Peter Burns and Doring and I, Roman Harper, were at dinner, and we're writing down pod systems on a napkin. And funny enough, that almost happened, what we did the day after we heard that news. But they're not going to do the pod system. They're just going to have these 3 permanent opponents. And for LSU, there's been a lot of talk of who it could be. I think A&M's the most guaranteed of any of the teams to be with LSU.
I agree.
And then you get in a conversation of the 2 Mississippi schools. Do you take both the Mississippi schools? Do you take one? And if you're putting Alabama on that list, okay, we'll take a look at Alabama. Alabama, if they have 3, it's going to be Auburn, probably going to be Tennessee. Would LSU be that 3rd? Is there another team that you would put over LSU as far as Alabama?
Yeah, see, Tennessee, again, is the one school that is in the bottom 8 right now, but could easily be back in the top 8. So if you tell Alabama, like I was saying when we were talking about this earlier, Alabama's the one team that could get screwed in this, which is great. Okay, Auburn is locked. They're going to play every year. So if you put LSU on their schedule, you got to give Alabama somebody at the bottom 8. So give them the team that they've wanted, that they've manipulated the scheduling on for all these years. Tennessee, who, like I said, right now is in the bottom 8, but maybe won't be 2 years from now, 5 years from now. That model works, and I could see very easily why Alabama wouldn't want to do that. And God forbid we upset Alabama when it comes to scheduling. They got this coming, okay? They have manipulated the scheduling in the Southeastern Conference for the last 30 years since expansion back in 1992. And if somebody got to take a bullet, it damn well ought to be them. You got me managed to get me riled up on this topic again. But yeah, I could see where they would have a problem with that. And again, Jake, we're talking about every year here.
Mm-hmm.
The rotation among the six is going to be such that, yes, your schedule is going to be lopsided some years. All I'm saying is don't let it be lopsided every year.
Yeah.
Rotate it to where over a 4-year period, you're going to play everybody pretty much the same amount of time.
Right.
So, yes, the year you get Alabama, it's going to be hard. And the year you get Vanderbilt, it's going to be a little bit easier.
The year you get Georgia, it's going to be hard.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia's better than South Carolina, and Auburn is better than Mississippi State.
Yeah.
I mean, in general. So, again, using the NFL as sort of a guideline here, just make sure that you can play the Jets every now and then, and you don't have to play the Chiefs every year.
Yeah.
Unless you're in the division, and, you can only balance it so much. I can't make sure that everybody plays the exact same balanced schedule every year. It's not possible. But over a 4-year period, it is.
Yeah, and you just hope if you're 6 rotating games, that in 1 year the 6 isn't, Florida, Georgia, if Alabama's not in that group, Auburn, like the 6, like you have to balance that portion of it too.
And what I really don't want to hear is, well, what if we catch Mississippi State the year they had Dak Prescott and they were number 1? Man, that's just bad luck.
Yeah, that's the way it rolls.
If you caught Vandy the year they had Cutler, and they were better than they usually were. What if you catch Texas the year that they go 5-7 and allow 48 points to Kansas? Good for you. Okay, you caught a break. I mean, I can't make it 100% fair every single year, but what I can do is I can try to balance it over time and not make it unbalanced every year.
You know who I think is going to get screwed in this whole deal? It's either Missouri or it's Arkansas, because I can see a scenario where Arkansas's 3 opponents could end up something like Texas, Oklahoma, LSU, like some 2 of those 3 teams, and then maybe even an A&M, because it feels like they will try to tie former Big 12 team Missouri with Texas and Oklahoma. Obviously Texas and Oklahoma have been in the same conference as Arkansas as well. Well, Southwest, they might try to put them in there as well together. I feel like one of those 2 teams could really get the short end.
Well, if you make them play Oklahoma and Texas, which is fine, then make sure that
got to throw them a bone.
Yeah,
you got to.
Nobody plays 3 teams out of the top, and nobody plays 3 teams out of the bottom. And if you are this, and he's got them up here on the screen here by the current divisions, but go back to what we were talking about earlier, which is top 8 and bottom 8.
Right.
And if it rankles Missouri or Mississippi State that they're in the bottom 8, say, well, fine. If you want to play 3 teams out of the top 8, no. We'll take a team out of the bottom. But nobody gets to play Vandy, South Carolina, and Mississippi State.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. It just make this some semblance of fair. And the other thing, Jake, I think that when we get 5 years into this, 8 years into this, and you've seen teams in Tiger Stadium like Tennessee and Georgia that come here once every blue moon. Yeah. I think people will kind of wrap their arms around it and saying, you know what, this is better. This is a lot better. And we're willing to sacrifice Auburn and Georgia playing every single year for a better rotation. And Auburn and Georgia are going to sulk. Yep. And you know what? I'm sorry. LSU has been privately sulking since 1992. Maybe they haven't told anybody that, but it's like, no, man, they shipped you to Florida. Okay, well, bummer. Great game, I get
it's
it.
It's my favorite game.
But
it's my favorite. And by the way, if you're counting at home, LSU's won 9 of the last 12 in that series, just in case you were wondering. But,
that's a good stat.
But Florida, as I'm looking here, because I'll be honest with you, I like making myself miserable. I'm like, how can LSU play Florida and keep that? They're not going to. It's just not going to happen. I can see 3 teams right now. Like Florida, it makes more sense for Georgia, Kentucky, Tennessee than it does for LSU. To play Florida. Like, so from their perspective, we're not going to get that game. You're going to get Texas A&M, you're going to get a Mississippi school, and then you're going to get either Alabama, Arkansas, or Auburn. It feels like that's the options that LSU is going to have.
I wouldn't put Arkansas in there.
You wouldn't?
No,
because of the other ties to the other schools?
Because both of the Mississippi schools are considered bottom 8. So if you play one of them, you can't play Arkansas too. I mean, for LSU. I mean, it's not fair. If you say LSU's 3 permanent opponents should be Arkansas, Mississippi State, and Texas A&M, look, even I don't think that's fair. I'm sorry. I mean, much as it would benefit them, that's just simply not fair.
All right, we will take a break. Go ahead in the chat, get your Munchies questions in. When we come back, we're going to have Chef Michael Johnson. You can ask him any of the Munchies questions. He'll answer all those for you. Before we go to break, though, I'll tell you about Gotros Outdoor Power. Go to GotrosOutdoorPower.com. Remember, 318-225-985-337-504. You name it, any area code, any city in Louisiana. You can go to GotrosOutdoorPower.com. You can find a piece of Hustler equipment. They'll deliver that to your doorstep. Just another reason they make it easy. All right, Munchies, when we come back here on OTB.
OTB, OT. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
My own people call me an Uncle Tom. I play music. Been wined and dined by royalty. Trying to bring people together. All people. But regardless of all that kind of stuff, I'm still Louis Armstrong.
Here's the man you're waiting for, the king of jazz, Louis Satchmo Armstrong.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her Auctioner primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an Auctioner care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioner Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
If you're in an accident, a car accident, a slip and fall where you're injured, you need to call an attorney. The defendant insurance company, it's their goal to close the case as quickly as possible and pay out the least amount of money as possible. That's why it's important to call an attorney and call the law offices of O.C. Brown.
At the law office of O.C. Brown, we're a family-owned firm. We want to be your law firm for a lifetime.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional.
ESPN and Guarantee Media bring you Drop Biscuit Studios. It's a southern home for storytellers. Visit dropbiscuit.com today and check out the trailer to our first original series, Pops, the Louis Armstrong story, starring Reno Wilson. Subscribe today. OTB OT with Hester and T-Bob on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 94.7 ESPN Alexandria.
All right, welcome back in OTB. It's Thursday at 9:30, so you know what that means. It is time for your Munchies questions. And to do so, our guy, Chef Michael Johnson, joins us now. Chef, good morning. How you doing?
Hey, Jake. How are you, buddy? I'm good.
Doing well, doing well. Glad to have you on as always. It's time to get hungry, as we always do here on Thursdays. And so let's go ahead and let's dive into this deal. Hashtag Munchies. I'm preparing some bacon for my mother-in-law. What's the best way to prepare bacon so I don't get yelled at?
Well, you know, if you're not trying to fill the house full of smoke, the safest way is probably going to be put it in the oven and bake it. You know, it's a little bit more controlled rather than the stovetop method in grease. So if you're worried about it that much and you're not wanting to hack your mother-in-law off, the safest bet, unless you're looking to purposely do it, and then you know there's other ways
I was about to say,
go about that as well.
Like if you're trying to get your mother-in-law out of the house, you microwave it. And she's going to leave.
There you go. Yeah.
Hashtag Munchies. If you're competing on Beat Bobby Flay, what would your signature dish be to cook against him?
You know, I watched the Bobby Flay competition against. So he was competing on Iron Chef, and the Iron Chef made this dish with Kobe beef rolled in cocoa powder. It was like you know, baking cocoa powder, and I always wanted to try that dish. You know, like this. It was a coffee rub with cocoa powder, and it always struck a chord in my mind. You know, like. I always wanted to make that dish. It looked incredible.
Hashtag Munchies. If you were forced to eat some kind of food off T-Bob's belly, what would you pick?
Oh, God.
Some of these you start reading them and then you just stop. I had to continue this one.
Man, I can't bust on T-Bob when he's not in the
Oh, fair enough.
I was going to say pork belly, but...
Oh, my gosh. That was good.
Man. Yeah, it's definitely going to be something that sits upright off of his belly.
Yeah, for sure. Hashtag Munchies. Smoking a pork loin this weekend. Any suggestions on any suggestions other than a rub?
Slow and low. Yeah. Slow and low. You know, if a lot of people will smoke too high, and I spent a lot of time in Kansas City, and I was taught by a pit master to smoke at 187 degrees, and so that's where I smoke, and it produces a more robust smoke. It penetrates deeper. You know, a lot of people will smoke up in the 200s and 220, and it's a thinner smoke. You're at that point. When the smoke gets so thin you can barely see it. You know, you're not smoking as much. You're more baking, and so you know, I like to have a more robust smoke when I'm smoking.
Yeah. Hashtag Munchies. Has Chef had an opportunity to try the Wendy's strawberry frosty? Didn't even know that was a thing.
I have not. You know, the amount of fast food that is in my life is ridiculously small, and I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Yeah, mine too. Mario, you? Fast food, ridiculously small? Fast food?
Ridiculously small?
Yeah, about fast food.
As in...
No, it's the joke because you only eat fast food.
I see what you're saying now. Might have to hit a drive-through in a little bit, actually.
Exactly. See, okay, now you understand it. Chef, what about right now, like for football? This is coming from me. Football right now, like this is the time usually more than any that you're working on your body, like gaining weight, losing weight, maintaining weight. Like, is this like where you put your plan together to succeed in the fall? Like you've already probably had those conversations and it's already started?
Oh, yeah. We are working hard at it right now. We've developed, we have imparted a new program that allows us to track on a day-to-day basis what they're ingesting and how many calories they're putting in. You know, and Dr. Frakes I don't know if you guys have met him yet, man, but he's a super intelligent guy, really well versed at what he's doing back there, and so it all plays together. And yes, right now we're super active in getting everybody involved and buying in, and being a part of the nutrition program.
How hard is that when, okay, you have the nutrition center and you've got all these great options, and obviously like they're kind of coming and going as well, and they have a plan. Like, how do you make sure they stay on that plan? And I know it's like I'm babysitting, but look, we know how it is. I mean, sometimes it's hard. Like, those choices are hard.
Yep.
Like, yeah, man, that fried fish looks really good compared to the grilled fish. Like, how do you make sure that they stay within what they're supposed to? Is there like labels on the food? Is it color coded? Is like there a system?
Yeah. So we actually have an app that we use that
wow.
When they come in, they start documenting everything that they're eating. That tells the dietitians what they've been eating, how many calories they're taking in, so on and so forth. So, there's accountability behind it too. They have to check in. So there's a physical check-in. You can't just start plucking away at the app and say, hey, I ate this.
Right.
You have to check in with the dietitian and have accountability.
Yeah.
And in years gone by, there's been guys who wanted to go eat fast food and junk, and there's preventative measures in place now to help prevent that. The food that we have here is healthier. It's sourced from better sources. Yep. We're serving higher quality food, so this is what we're here for. We're here to teach them. It's a learning process of how to eat better going forward, because we're teaching and training our athletes, not just football.
Right.
How to make the next level step.
Hashtag Munchies. Thoughts on the food industry engaging in shrinkflation with their food serving? So I guess you're getting smaller portions.
Yeah, it's tough to watch, man. When I do go to the fast food restaurants, it's amazing. Like I remember being a kid and buying a Happy Meal for like $2.50, and now you go and I don't buy Happy Meals, but just as a comparable, what the bread basket is how much food are these certain items that you put into a basket, like a gallon of milk, a loaf of bread, so on and so forth. It's absolutely crazy how much a gallon of milk or a loaf of bread costs, and you go to a restaurant and you pay $30 for something. And I'm not going to use any names of any restaurants because I don't want to slam them. But I was at a place yesterday. It was like $17 for a meal.
Yeah.
And that's crazy.
Yeah. Me and my oldest son went to dinner the other night, and just for the two of us, it was $36. And I was like,
yeah.
That used to be like the Hesters growing up. We were a family of 5 growing up, and like that's what the meal was for all 5 of us. It's just for 2 of us.
What is your grocery bill?
Oh, I don't even want to talk about
which
that.
is what?
Why do you think I do radio for 6 hours a day?
150%, 170% of what it used to be.
Oh,
180%.
absolutely. I mean, you can't you can't go to the grocery store for my family, and we're a family of 6. So like $200 is like the minimum of what you're going to spend, and that's it becomes weekly, sometimes twice a week with 4 boys. So. All right, Chef, we appreciate you hopping on as always. I know this is a very busy time for you. I know, you don't have to do anything like with like the camps or anything, right? That's not anything to do with all. Like, you don't have to provide food for all those people, do you? Okay, good.
No,
about to
we're
say.
self-sustaining.
Like, I know you can do it. I know you've done it in your past, but that's not something you're trying to do. Okay, well, good. Just worry about the LSU athletes. That's all we care about now.
Yep, I'm focused. That's it.
All right, Chef, you're the man. We appreciate it as always. That is Munchies.
Take care, guys.
Chef Michael Johnson joins us every single Thursday. Makes me hungry every single Thursday, and I want to go over to the nutritional center every single Thursday.
I'm still on the bacon in the oven.
Oh, bacon is something I'm frying bacon every time I do it. The vent hood's going on. There's going to be some smoke. I understand that. I'm frying that bacon. There's no microwave. People put bacon in the microwave. Just take some time. I know it's faster. Just take some time. It's much, much better.
Is the worst way to prepare bacon, whatever you consider that to be, still bacon, right?
Yes, true. I see what you're saying.
Like the worst.
I see what you're saying.
I mean, it's still great, right?
Pretty good answer there from you, Hanny. All right, we did take a break a little bit early because I want to get to some Ask the Bench with Hanny since we have Hanny in studio for 15 more minutes. Want to get some of those questions in to my man Charles Hannegriff. So go ahead, get inside the chat. Ask the Bench brought to you by Cold Coors Light, Vizzy Hard Seltzer, Blue Moon, Light Sky, Citrus Wheat when we come back.
OTB, OT.
You go to allstartoyotaofbatonrouge.com, allstartoyotaofbatonrouge.com. There you will find something that you'll fall in love with. If it's buying, if it's leasing, if it's renting, they've got the deal for you. We talk about rentals every single day because it's one of the great services that they offer. You go to the website, right there on the homepage, Rent a Toyota. Once you click on that, you are going to see the per day pricing for certain vehicles. And they've got the Corolla, the Camry, the RAV4. They've got the Tundra, the Sienna, the 4Runner, the Sequoia, the Tacoma, Highland, like you name it, it's available in that rental process. You're not going to get that everywhere. In fact, a lot of times you go somewhere to rent a vehicle, you've got like 3 options. That's not the case over at All Star, no matter what you need. And everything's going to call for something different. If you're hauling something, you don't have a truck, you need a truck, multiple options. If you need a bigger SUV, they've got the Sequoia. If you need a minivan, they've got the Sienna. But if you want to save maybe some gas money, they've got the Corolla, the Camry. They've got everything available. AllStarToyotaOfBatonRouge.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
At All Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All Star Toyota today.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli? I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Come on over to Corval Toyota to pre-order your next vehicle, and you'll never pay over MSRP. Browse, reserve, pick up, and enjoy. It's that simple. So come on down to Happy Town. That's Corval Toyota in Opelousas, Happy Town, USA.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
And this year, 2022, it's time to finally treat yourself. Bring your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service. You want the latest and greatest marine technology? You want to go to the place that has not one, but 2 NMEA certified techs, family owned.
For a Thursday edition of Early Line, as we recap Game 3 of the NBA Finals between the Celtics and the Warriors, and we look ahead to the NCAA Baseball Super Regionals. Early Line, 2 to 3 p.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
OTB OT with Hester and T-Bob on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 94.7 ESPN Alexandria.
All right, welcome back in. It is time for Ask the Bench, brought to you by Cold Coors Light, Vizzy Hard Seltzer, Blue Moon, Light Skies, Citrus, Wheat. Let's go ahead and dive in. Ask the bench, why is 6-6 a realistic expectation for LSU football?
Why is it a realistic expectation? Well, we don't know who the quarterback is. We don't know how the coaching staff's going to react. I think their win total is like 7.5.
I've seen 6.5. Most places 7.5. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of unknowns, and a lot of these win totals, they're predicated on who's the coach and who's the quarterback. And you don't have the quarterback situation settled, and the coach is obviously very accomplished, but he's also in a transition year. It's the first year here, so that's probably why
I think it is the unknown. You don't know how it's going to work. You don't know how the coaching staff, like you mentioned, you don't know with the transfer portal how those players that were good players elsewhere are going to integrate themselves here in this team.
Put a pencil to it, Jake. I think this will be the biggest percentage turnover of an LSU roster since ever.
Yeah, I agree.
Ever. I mean, it's circumstances. It's probably that way a lot of places because of the transfer portal, but the unknown.
All right, ask the bench. Love, Haney, and Ott together in sports today. What's the schedule look like for y'all coming up?
We'll be on tonight at 6 o'clock.
Hey, I mean, there you go. Absolutely. You don't have to miss it too much. It's coming back. Ask the bench. Do you think a 9-game SEC schedule hurts lower-tier teams on the verge of bowl eligibility?
Yeah.
Yes,
it does.
That's one of the reasons they don't like it.
And that, I think, is the reason that you will see the compromise be that they will do away with the requirement that you play a non-conference Power 5 team. That will be part of the compromise. The rest of the compromise will be about money.
Hashtag Ask the Bench. If Baton Rouge could add another sports team to the city, which would you add? So I guess maybe probably talking about, like some Rougarou and other teams.
I did a couple of Rougarou games this week. It's difficult here to get traction if you're not LSU or Southern, because in those two schools have every sport, and they dominate. They dominate the local landscape. So we've seen arena football here, we've seen hockey here, we've seen baseball here, and I think the baseball is going to get a little bit of traction because a lot of local kids are playing there. That's really what it's about. Like, I was doing a Rougarou game last night. There are kids playing there that were from Denham Springs, that were from Baton Rouge, played at BRCC. I don't know that there's another sport.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say minor league hockey. They've had that before. It didn't last. I enjoy minor league hockey, but I just don't know if the want is there. I think there's rumblings maybe a semi-pro professional soccer team could be in the works in Baton Rouge.
They tried that too.
Yeah.
The Bombers, I think they were. You might be able to get a little bit interest in basketball.
Yeah.
Potentially, but. It's
tough. It's tough in a college town. It is tough in a college town. I know Baton Rouge is a big college town, but it is tough in a college town when you have products like LSU and Southern, like you mentioned, that you're going to be more passionate about. Ask the bench, would MLB be better off reducing to AA and AAA and only having eligibility from NCAA and high school remain the same?
Yes. Believe me, Class A baseball, they reduced it 2 years ago because of COVID. And yes, if they just absolutely endorsed college baseball as the replacement for single A baseball, I could make a case. I can make a model there for sure.
Ask the bench, should bowl eligibility be tougher than 6-6?
It should, but if you've got the number of bowl games you have, I mean, we've even had 5 and 7 teams that are in bowl games.
Yeah.
When they expand the playoff, not if, when they expand the playoff, what will be the fate of the bowl games? Now that you're having so many players out there, listen, I'm sorry. Nobody wants to see a Texas Bowl with a team going over there with 40 eligible players. I mean, I'm sorry.
I was there in person. It's not something
that's
you want
not
to see.
That's not what we aspire to.
Ask the bench, what days do you do Odd Show, Haney?
Monday, Thursday, and Friday.
Ask Haney, favorite LSU sporting event you've ever attended?
Oh, wow. 1996 College World Series.
Yeah, I mean, who's going to argue that? Ask the bench, who is more likely to win a championship first, Brian Kelly or Dennis Allen?
Brian Kelly, because he can turn over a roster faster than Dennis Allen can. He can go find a quarterback. If Jameis Winston doesn't work out, it's going to take the Saints a while to find a quarterback. They don't have the draft ammunition to move up in next year's draft unless they completely tank as a team next year. So if LSU doesn't have the quarterback of the future on this year's roster, they can go get one next year. And I think they probably, do have the quarterback of the future. But it's a lot harder to find a quarterback at the pro level than at the college level if you don't have one.
Rougarou is not professional, though. It's amateur. It is amateur, but
yeah.
I was saying more of a lines of something that was not LSU, a team that is assembled and kind of has a minor league feel to it. It's like the Cape Cod. We talked about it.
Yeah, and I think they've got a chance because of the local ties and the local players that are there.
Last one, ask the bench. Drink of choice when hanging out at the pool during these summer days and nights. I don't stray far from Coors Light. That's not because it's on the desk. Y'all know me. Haney knows me too.
Anything light, okay? That's you're not going to have a heavy whiskey. Anything that's light.
All right, Haney, you're the man. Can't thank you enough. That was a lot of fun. Always is. We will see y'all tomorrow. Riz will be in studio with me. We'll see you then.
OTB, OT.
All right, go to AccuTempBR.com, AccuTempBR.com. I tell you every day, you go to the website, and as soon as you get there, a window is going to pop up, and it's going to be a chat. Welcome to AccuTemp Services. How can we provide you with service to the highest degree? Whatever you've got. If you want to schedule something, if you've got an issue, if you want to install something, whatever you can do, you're going to get your answer right there. You're going to get instant feedback from them. It's going to be set up right there, and with their ratings, you're going to get that service to the highest degree. That's not us telling you. That's not just your neighbor telling you. That is everyone. That is the internet, which hates everything, but they don't hate AccuTemp and AccuTempBR.com. Cooling, heating, and electrical. Cooling part of it, crucial. You have to have it. You cannot go without your air conditioner right now in South Louisiana. Go ahead, make sure you have that maintenance. Be a part of the STAR membership so it's working at its peak performance. You have to make sure that you get this done. They're going to come do it in and out. AccuTempBR.com.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that